The story began in the Xinjiang continent. There was a great power to cultivate immortals, and an immortal said something when he broke through. It was a bald, half-naked man surrounded by broken rock debris, and as he introduced himself as Garbage Ash, he said that he had discovered an unusual new version of immortal cultivation. He claimed that it would only take 3 minutes of doing what he did for one to definitely fall in love with immortal cultivation. Since then, the Xinjiang continent hastily started a generation of major immortal cultivation. At Jiangping City, a small town where mortals lived and worked in peace, pillars of light could be seen in the distance. The residents rejoiced because those pillars of light meant that someone had made a breakthrough, and one color even indicated that someone had broken through the realm of the great martial master. But among the celebrating people, one of them seemed to be so displeased by the events that they even clicked their tongue while lounging on a chair. It was Yifeng, a transverser, who looked at the scene with a bored and dissatisfied face as he wondered which fucker was so lucky to break through. Yifeng reminisced about what happened 5 years ago. He had played the Immortal Cultivation game for 90 hours continuously, which had earned him the Traversal Achievement abbreviation, Sudden Death. When he first arrived in the world of cultivating immortals, he was half naked and he saw a lot of flying rocks, buildings, and people. It was like a dream, and he thought that he was great. Although he had been a little shocked at first, he had immediately calmed down. While the floating people behind him were fighting, he scratched his head and thought about how it was only logical that if someone crossed over, they usually had a system or something. Suddenly, something choked the life out of Yifeng. His eyes were bloodshot, he coughed up blood, and he didn't know what was going on. A muscular, deformed creature with a needle between its legs and a rectangular box on its head was squeezing Yifeng's head between his biceps, and a loud crack was heard as he told Yifeng that he had called him in time. He told Yifeng that it had been nice to meet him with a smirk on his face. He flexed his muscles and raised his thumb while introducing himself as the savior that every transverser looked forward to the most. He was surrounded by sparkles as he raised his 2 thumbs up and called himself the System Golden Finger. Yifeng was on all fours. He trembled as he looked up while the needle twinkled in front of him. The System Golden Finger rested his head on the palm of his hand and said that it was really troublesome if Yifeng stared at him like that. But it was not surprising for him because, after all, his figure counted as one of the best in the Golden Finger world. But then Yifeng started to puke rainbows, which made the System Golden Finger raise his needle off the ground and yell at Yifeng, asking if he was trying to humiliate him. The System Golden Finger flexed his muscles again and told Yifeng to listen because what was next was that he would acquire a system of martial art unparalleled in the world. It could be the art of boxing, swordsmanship, rod method, sword technique, palm technique, forging technique, drawing book, and they were all on par with gods, which made Yifeng excited. He thought about how great it was and said that in that way, he could cultivate in that world of immortality. He had already imagined himself meditating in the sky and practicing divine power, fighting with people and exterminating the sect. And lastly, he imagined himself surrounded by women and having a beautiful harem, and he was so thrilled to think about it. Floating in front of Yifeng, the System Golden Finger confidently told him that he would help him upgrade all his martial skills to the maximum level and mentioned that there was also a 600 square meter martial arts gym for him to start the game while nonchalantly making the gym appear out of thin air. Yifeng pumped his fist, tears filled the corners of his eyes, and he felt great and said that he was finally ready to start his immortal cultivation journey. The System Golden Finger was dumbfounded when he heard what Yifeng said, and he was speechless for a moment, confused about what an immortal cultivation journey was. With a stern face, the System Golden Finger pointed at the rectangular box on his head where the words spiritual root were written, and he told Yifeng that in order to cultivate, he must have that. Yifeng froze in place, and his face turned pale as he thought about his spiritual roots. The System Golden Finger then told Yifeng that it was not his responsibility, and that there were people who had traveled through that were waiting for his salvation. So he said goodbye to Yifeng and quickly disappeared into thin air, leaving the half-naked Yifeng with his crumbling martial arts gym. Yifeng was petrified, and his body was filled with sweat as he tried to figure out what had just happened. He came to the Jiangping Spiritual Root Testing Center, and as he placed his index finger on a glowing device, it announced that there were no spiritual roots. Yifeng cursed as he knelt on the ground while the receptionist at the center was speechless. The receptionist turned pale due to surprise, and grabbing the device in his hands, he cursed and exclaimed that everyone had spiritual roots and that he had never seen anyone without them, so he questioned if Yifeng was human. Yifeng was again petrified when the receptionist told him with all due respect that the road to become immortal was not his destiny. In 5 years, Yifeng had repeatedly gone to the Jiangping City Spiritual Root Testing Center, and he still remembered the countless times he had placed his index finger on the device and been told that he had no spiritual root. He convinced himself that it was not a big deal if he couldn't dominate the world, stand on top of the plane, or feel the thrill of advancement like the great vault of the sky, as all of those things had nothing to do with him. Martial Practitioner, Martial Master, Martial Grandmaster, Martial Venerable, Martial King, Martial Emperor, Martial Ancestor, Martial Celestial, Martial Saint, and Martial Supreme, all these levels of advancement crumpled and scattered, like leaves being blown by the wind. Yifeng felt like he was lounging, surrounded by nothingness, while he lounged under an umbrella in what looked like the town square with the System Golden Fingers monument behind him, and he said that everything was meaningless, imagining himself kneeling in front of a main character who had multiple images of other main characters behind him and being told that people who had no spiritual roots could never be the main character. Yifeng thought that it was better to make salted fish. Yifeng suddenly stood up, and his body shuddered as he raised his arms in the air and stretched. He frowned as he stared at his small piggy bank, and he thought that it seemed that in his life, he could only have set up a stall, sold books, recruited members, and so on because otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to survive in that world. Suddenly, a cute orange-haired kid with big round eyes appeared, and she looked amazed while she stared at something that had caught her attention. That kid caught Yifeng's attention. The kid was with a white-haired, beautiful girl. The kid excitedly approached Yifeng's stall, called her sister's attention to have a look, and said that she had never seen those books, and Yifeng thought that they were cultivators and that they were definitely rich people. While thinking that he was going to serve them with the attitude of a gentleman, Yifeng gracefully greeted them with a smile on his face and asked how he might help them. Although she was surprised to see someone who had such a refined temperament in Jiangping City and felt that it was a pity that he was just an ordinary human being. The white-haired lady looked at Yifeng with a deadpan expression while she called for the little kid, Liu Olai, and told her that they should go. Grabbing all the books and holding them like they were a stack of playing cards, Yifeng asked for them to wait a moment, and he showed the books to Liu Olai, saying that he thought that she had wonderful bones and an extraordinary talent. He told her that she was a martial arts genius who had never been seen in a million years, so those martial arts secrets that he drew, which he was selling for 10 gold each, he would sell them to her for half the price. And upon hearing what he said, Liu Olai smiled brightly while pointing at herself, confirming with him if she really was a genius. Winking at Yifeng, Liu Olai pointed at him and said that she would choose Master Ma's lightning whiplash. To Yifeng's surprise, the white-haired lady grabbed Liu Olai by the hair and told her that they should go, saying that it was better to spend money in useful places than anything else. But Liu Olai thrashed around, trying to get out of her sister's grasp, asking her to let her go and saying that she wanted the book. But the white-haired lady did not listen to her and dragged her away, questioning her for having the leisure time to read books when they were in a critical situation at Castle Peak Gate. However, Liu Olai continued to flail her arms and drag her feet on the ground, saying that she did not care, and that she wanted her to buy the book for her. Liu Olai struck a nerve, and it made the white-haired lady so mad that her nerves popped out of her forehead while she scolded Liu Olai and reminded her that they were both immortal cultivators, so there was no point in buying ordinary human drawing books. Yifeng cursed, and he was also fuming mad as he stood in his stall. He was pouting because he wanted to move but didn't dare to. Liu Olai then yelled in a tantrum that she wanted to buy the book, and her body suddenly grew big and muscular. Confusion and surprise filled the atmosphere. In a blink of an eye, there was a hole on the ground with smoke coming out of it, and Liu Olai, who was still big and muscular, was happily looking at the book that looked so tiny in her hands while she called on her sister, saying that they should go. Meanwhile, Yifeng's jaw dropped, and he was not able to react while the white-haired lady stood in front of his stall, tossing something and saying that it was the money. The white-haired lady asked Liu Olai if she was satisfied, to which Liu Olai confirmed and said thank you. Liu Olai started to shrink as the white-haired lady reminded her to control herself in front of a mortal next time because of her physique. While they were walking away, Yifeng came back to his senses and yelled at them, telling them to get their asses back there because his book was 10 golds each. He continued to yell and called them shitty cultivators, threatening them to never show up in front of him again or he would blow their asses off. A few moments later, Liu Olai and the white-haired lady were both leaving Jiangping City, and the white-haired lady let out a big sigh while massaging the back of her neck as Liu Olai continued to hound her about the book, saying that it was really beautiful and that she had never seen something like that before, so they should read it together. The white-haired lady sighed in defeat as she agreed with Liu Olai to have a look, and as she reached out for the book, she told herself to just deal with it. The white-haired lady's face contorted into a bewildered expression as she flipped through the book and struggled to make sense of what she was reading. Suddenly, the book produced a massive amount of aura that blew her hair up. and she screamed with her eyes wide open in surprise. What she felt at that moment were things that only the cultivators could sense, and it felt like loneliness being abandoned by the galaxy, like being surrounded by enthusiasm in a festival carnival. With the system golden finger radiating white loops behind the white-haired lady, two other similar creatures were depicted behind her as well. And as she wondered what it was that was desperately trying so hard to fill her loophole and make her realize it, she screamed and drooled as her clothes turned to shreds, which made her realize that it was pure martial arts. With her clothes turned to shreds, a black octopus wrapped its tentacles around her, depicting a lewd scene. Her face was extremely red, and she couldn't help but moan as the tentacles poked her cheeks and other parts of her body. She slumped on the ground with the book in front of her, trying to catch her breath. Her face was still extremely red, she was sweating profusely, and tears formed at the corner of her eye as she thought about how she had been working so hard to break through and how all her efforts were in vain. But after reading only one page of Yifeng's picture book, she broke through the great martial master in an instant. With a worried look on her face, Luo Lai suddenly approached the white-haired lady, asking her if she was okay because her face was so red. And the white-haired lady was startled when she realized that even Luo Lai had broken through several times to comprehend the realm of the martial master. Depicting the image of Yifeng looming over her, the white-haired lady's face turned pale as she realized that Yifeng could be a world-class expert, and then she decided that she must tell her master about it as soon as possible. In the forest, while wielding his spear infused with a golden aura, Lu Qingshan, the head of the Castle Peak Gate, who was then at the realm of martial spirit, lunged towards an injured beast that seemed to have been battling a group of men in front of it. Some of those men had already lain lifeless on the ground, and he announced that he was there to harvest the beast's head. As he was about to hit the beast, Lu Qingshan was surprised when a purple aura, appearing as a much stronger force, hit it before he did, and the beast's blood splattered all over the place. Lu Qingshan's eyes were filled with terror, bulging out of their sockets, as someone called out to him and claimed that they had killed that monstrous beast. The monstrous beast now lay lifeless on the ground, and as the person with the purple aura absorbed the monster beast's power, he thanked the Castle Peak Gate, who stood behind him, for their hard work so that he could step ahead of them without any fuss. Lu Qingshan was enraged and told the person that he had no martial art ethics because their Castle Peak Gate had hunted that demon for months, and they had suffered heavy casualties, but he simply went there to pick up the ready-made products. The person, Ning Xianwu, who was the ancestor of the Xuanwu sect, broke through the realm of the martial king and told Lu Qingshan to come if he wanted to because he wouldn't mind giving him a death ride before the official competition. Lu Qingshan's face contorted with fear, and sweat ran down his face as he realized that they were not in a good situation because the spiritual power Ning Xianwu had just absorbed had helped him break through the realm of the martial king. Ning Xianwu, backed up by his unscathed sect members, stood in front of Lu Qingshan, who only had his injured sect members behind him, and confidently pointed at Lu Qingshan, declaring that if Lu Qingshan could beat him in the death fight 3 days later, he would let him go. However, he added that it was a pity that his Xuanwu sect would eventually swallow up Lu Qingshan's Castle Peak Gate. This made Lu Qingshan cast a downward glare and grit his teeth, unable to say anything in response. On the other hand, a lady up on stage announced something important, and she told her audience that if they wanted to resolve the crisis, it could only be done if they asked for big help. Her audience, including Yifeng, looked at her with deadpan expressions on their faces, and she cursed in her mind as the rumors of Cultivator's disputes could no longer make the group of leisurely guys in front of her interested, and she worried that she was going to be unemployed. Among the audience, one commented that the issue that the lady mentioned was less hot and asked for the next issue, while another commented that the rhythm of the burden was not right, and Yifeng thought that it was just a territorial contention. The whole blood boiled. Meanwhile, at the Castle Peak Gate, 2 young cultivators were practicing with their weapons, and as one of them mentioned that the duel was only a few days away, the other said that he didn't know what the use of practicing was at the moment, and in response, the other one said that their master, Lu Qingshan, had been practicing hard in retreat, so he presumed that he would be able to break through before the death fight. Suddenly, a fat old man with his nerves popping out of his face appeared between them and told them to shut up as he had been with Lu Qingshan for more than 30 years, and he said that Lu Qingshan had always been indomitable when he encountered a crisis. The old man declared that Lu Qingshan never backed down, and unbeknownst to him, Lu Qingshan was meditating near where they were, and he could hear their conversation. Lu Qingshan stared ahead seriously when the old man said that the more they faced the difficulties, the more their determination would burst out. Out of nowhere, Lu Qingshan bit a piece of clothing to suppress his urge to scream in frustration, and while he trembled, tears formed at the corners of his eyes as he cursed in his mind. Doubt splattered in his mind like blue ink as he questioned himself about how he could beat Ning Xianwu in his current state when he had been in the realm of martial spirit for many years, but never made a breakthrough, so he knew that he would definitely be killed. As he sobbed silently, someone called out to him and announced that Lan Zu had something to ask him, so he immediately composed himself and gave an affirmative response. He cleared his throat and told them to come in. A few moments later, someone placed Yifeng's Master Ma's lightning whiplash on the ground. It was Lan Zu, the white-haired, beautiful lady, and after she explained, Lu Qingshan was speechless for a moment. Lu Qingshan confirmed with Lan Zu if what she had really said was that the book was from a mortal, and as she nervously confirmed and told him that Yifeng might be a peerless master in the cultivation world, Lu Qingshan cut her off and told her it was nonsense. Lu Qingshan was enraged, and he grabbed the book as he lectured Lan Zu, saying that as a major disciple of the Qingshan sect, she had been simply stupid for not concentrating on her cultivation to make breakthroughs and that she had been deceived by street folks. As Lu Qingshan said that the book was nothing out of the ordinary and useless, Lan Zu requested for him to calm down and have a look at the book first, and she said that if she was lying, then she would be willing to accept any punishment. Lu Qingshan agreed, and as soon as he opened the book, something snapped inside him that he was not able to comprehend. A very strong aura surged out of the book that made the pages flutter, and as Lu Qingshan looked at the book and felt the strong aura, his eyes bulged out like they were about to pop out of their sockets, and his mouth was wide open due to shock. A sphere of colorful aura emerged, and a silhouette of a human being meditating at the center of it could be seen. The aura surged through Lu Qingshan, and he was taken to a prairie with the sunset in front of him. Shortly, he realized that he was in an enlightening condition, and he could not believe that he was in his own mind. And he thought about how those previous days, he had been more like running away from the pressure to fight the Xuanwu sect instead of closing up on it, because since he had become the sect master, no one had ever tested his strength for so many years. Suddenly, a man with elastic arms, who had the system golden finger behind him, moved his arms at a very rapid speed as he said that the looseness was tight and the tightness got tighter. The elastic man was hitting Lu Qingshan, and his body was filled with bruises from the hits. But as he drooled and tears ran down his cheeks, Lu Qingshan could not help but moan and have a lewd expression on his face as he exclaimed that he had finally broken through. A pillar of light emerged at the castle peak gate, which surprised its members. On the other hand, Yifeng, who lounged on his chair while holding a bowl of noodles in his hands, cursed as he saw the pillar of light, wondered which fucker broke through again, and complained that the noodles didn't smell good anymore. Back at the castle peak gate, while Lu Qingshan bent over, trying to reach out for Yifeng's smoking book on the ground, Lan Zu, who sat behind him, rejoiced that he had really been able to break through to the realm of Martial King. With his face and ears still beet red, Lu Qingshan called Lan Zu. A pleasing light radiated from Lu Qingshan while he was still blushing, and he told Lan Zu that the opportunity to kill the Xuanwu sect had come. As Lu Qingshan told Lan Zu that Yifeng's cultivation was unfathomable for being able to easily draw a book with great martial intent, and told her that she must follow him to pay respect to the martial master. The image of her questioning Liu Lai about the point of buying a mortal's painting book filled Lan Zu's mind, which made her panic as she spoke so arrogantly that she offended Yifeng without thinking. Imagining Yifeng looming over the land and destroying it with the wave of his hand, Lan Zu thought that if he were angry, he would definitely destroy the castle peak gate. Meanwhile, with a fiery look in his eyes, Yifeng stared intently at something. An ominous aura shrouded him as he declared that it was time. But then he smiled full of content as he stood up in front of a cooking pot, and he was happy that he could finally eat the meat while thinking that mortal exercise methods were not popular in that world at all. So when he finally had two idiot cultivators who bought a book for a cold coin, he exchanged it with 2 kattas of meat, which was equivalent to half a kilo. Meanwhile, 3 men chased a purple wild dog who had stolen their meat. As the wild dog ran with the meat in its mouth, in the dog's mind, it called them lowly humans and told them to stop chasing him, claiming that eating their meat was a great honor. However, no one could hear him. Portraying its original form, the wild dog introduced itself as the prince of the wolf clan in the demon world. It stated that its realm was equivalent to martial soul. If it hadn't been for being framed by its fellow clan and its spiritual powers almost being exhausted, it would have swallowed them a long time ago. As the prince of the wolf clan called them fragile and stupid humans, it spotted Yifeng from behind. Yifeng was squatting in front of his cooking pot. The wild dog grinned evilly, thinking that a mortal dared to stand in its way. Believing that killing a defenseless mortal was easy despite its weak spiritual power, the prince of the wolf clan released its spiritual power, portraying its original form. It lunged at the clueless Yifeng from behind, telling him to die. Yifeng was startled and looked behind him as he sensed the prince of the wolf clan's aura. They locked eyes with each other. Suddenly, Yifeng grabbed the prince of the wolf clan by the head, surprising and confusing both of them. As Yifeng smiled and asked when the prince of the wolf clan had come to Jiangping City, the prince of the wolf clan trembled, his mouth wide open. He couldn't believe that his power didn't work. The prince of the wolf clan was furious at Yifeng for daring to make fun of him. He released a very strong lightning-like aura while yelling. Yifeng remained unscathed, but the meat he had been cooking behind him spilled completely on the ground. When Yifeng saw it, his eyes turned dark. Meanwhile, the prince of the wolf clan, still hanging by Yifeng's hand, had his mouth wide open and trembled, unable to believe that his attack hadn't affected Yifeng at all. While Yifeng continued to hold on to him, the prince of the wolf clan looked anxious, trying to figure out what Yifeng had just done. He felt his whole body trembling, and as he wondered if he was scared, he quickly dismissed the idea as a joke, as he could not be afraid of a mortal because he wouldn't be scared even if he was besieged by 5 cultivators in the martial spirit realm. But as Yifeng's face contorted in anger, nerves popped out of his face, and he pointed at him, calling him a cutie and saying that he looked delicious. The prince of the wolf clan could not help but internally scream at the realization that Yifeng wanted to eat him, and he wondered who Yifeng was. While Lu Qingshan and Lan Zu traversed the skies, Yifeng stared confusedly at the prince of the wolf clan who lay on the ground, and he seemed like he was excessively scared as his soul had left his body while he wondered how strong Yifeng really was. At the Jiangping market, a little injured girl was thrown out for sneaking into the Qingshan gate, and they mocked her for looking at her virtues and wanting to cultivate when she didn't even have spiritual roots. They warned her that if they caught her sneaking in again, they would kill her. Feeling defeated, she suddenly knelt on the ground. She slammed her small fist into the ground and called out to her god, and as the little girl, Zhang King, questioned if she really was a loser who would never be able to change her fate, she apologized to her uncle for having to let him down. Suddenly, Yifeng, who had the prince of the wolf clan tied beside him, called out to her and told her that, seeing the posture of her body, he wondered if she intended to steal his meat. He then added that if she wanted to eat, then she would have to pay money because although his barbecue was well known in the world, he wouldn't share it with her even if she called her dad. Zhang King stood up, and she was enraged at how Yifeng was taking advantage of her indiscriminately, and she declared that she wouldn't eat his meat even if she starved to death. Zhang King turned her back on Yifeng, who was still cooking the meat, and while she was walking away, the smell of it reached her nose. Zhang King closed her eyes from embarrassment as she grabbed a barbecue in each of her hands while she kept on telling Yifeng that she had already told him that she was not eating his food, and Yifeng was not able to do anything but yell at her for robbing him of his barbecue. Yifeng's face suddenly turned serious as he looked at Zhang King. His eyes filled with concern as he pointed out that she had been driven out by the Qingshan sect. With her mouth still full, Zhang King was surprised at what Yifeng had just said, as it was already obvious, and then she added, correcting Yifeng, that she was a boy. With Zhang King looking crestfallen behind him, Yifeng returned to cooking his barbecue, and with a puzzled expression on his face, he said that with such a good haircut, instead of becoming an idol, Zhang King had come to cultivate into immortals, and he wondered what was wrong with the people of the country he was currently in, while in his mind, he was thinking that Zhang King had the same experience as him, and it was not as good. As he finished cooking the barbecue, Yifeng pointed out to Zhang King that he had nowhere to go and he just happened to be short of a man, so he told him to follow him, and he tossed the key to the martial arts hall at Zhang King and told him to take it. Even though he was taken by surprise, Zhang King was still able to catch the keys. Merrily walking away, Yifeng told Zhang King that he was going to buy some seasonings, so he should go back to the martial arts hall first and look after the house, but Zhang King told him that he still didn't agree to be his staff. Zhang King blushed as he clutched the keys close to his chest. And as he contemplated what was wrong with Yifeng, wondering how he could say those things, he decided to just forget them because he realized that if he could have a job in Jiangping, his parents would be more relieved. Half an hour later, Lu Qingshan and Lan Zu came into a residence that looked like Yifeng's residence. They opened the door and carefully entered, politely calling out for Yifeng. As they entered Yifeng's residence, they were greeted by an elegant courtyard, weird statues, and strange paintings. Lu Qingshan's eyes bulged out, and his mouth was agape when he noticed the paintings. He was surrounded by the aura being emitted by the paintings, and he couldn't help but praise their powerful force. Voices could be heard from the paintings, and as one of them was looking for a fight, threatening that it would slice again, the other didn't want to fight as its scabbard had moved. And although Lu Qingshan couldn't understand a word, he could deeply feel that those paintings must be some kind of wonderful artwork, and he said that he felt that it was as if the paintings were telling him about sect disputes, strengths, and weaknesses, and how it was just a passing moment. Lan Zu was surprised when she saw Lu Qingshan suddenly kneel on the ground, completely enlightened, and say that he understood. Suddenly, Zhang King, who was still catching his breath and holding a feather duster, appeared in front of Lu Qingshan and Lan Zu, who were surprised, and asked them if the two of them were guests. Lan Zu smiled, while Lu Qingshan nervously laughed as they both apologized and introduced themselves as people from the Qingshan sect. Upon hearing that the two of them were from the Qingshan sect, Zhang Qing's expression darkened, and he thought that it was over for him. He then wondered if the two of them were there to catch him for sneaking into the Qingshan gate. Lan Zu was surprised, along with Lu Qingshan, whose eyes bulged out of their sockets when Zhang Qing quickly dashed and knelt in front of them, apologizing and promising that he would not dare to sneak into the Qingshan gate again, asking for the two of them to spare his life, and saying that he was very thin, so they shouldn't feed him to the dog. The two of them were flabbergasted, and they didn't know what to do, so Lan Zu reached out to Zhang Qing, asking him to get up and asking him what he was doing. But as Lan Zu reached out to Zhang Qing, another hand reached out too. It was Lu Qingshan, and he grabbed Lan Zu's hand, lectured her, and told her not to be rude. And he told her that he once heard that Buddha was also a Western deity that tested the believer to see if they had a clean heart or not. Realizing her mistake, Lan Zu's eyes filled with terror, and she started sweating profusely. And as she looked at Zhang Qing, who was bowing in front of them, she saw the Western and Eastern Buddhas depicted behind him, and she wondered if Zhang Qing was sent by Yifeng to test them. Addressing Zhang Qing as a girl, they suddenly noticed that he was holding a feather duster. Lu Qingshan gritted his teeth. He was sweating profusely as he stared at the item, trying to figure out what it meant, and in his mind, he thought about how the feather duster was used to remove dust. Removing dust meant to remove distracting thoughts, and only by throwing away distracting thoughts could they accomplish anything. Figuring out what the feather duster meant with a serious look on his face, Lu Qingshan announced that it must be the first trial that Yifeng hinted at them. So at that moment, they should let Yifeng have a good experience of their sincerity, and Lan Zu, who looked as serious as him, responded that she understood. Meanwhile, Zhang Qing looked at them with an expressionless face as he couldn't understand what was going on. With his eyes full of determination, Lu Qingshan told Lan Zu that they should clean up the dust, to which Lan Zu added that they should get rid of all miscellaneous thoughts. With their game faces on, they wielded the cleaning tools as if they were weapons and posed as if they were going into a fight, while Lu Qingshan initiated that they should start cleaning, to which Lan Zu responded affirmatively. On the other hand, Zhang Qing panicked when he saw what they were doing and told them that they really didn't need to do such things as it was all his job. He questioned them if they really were the cultivators of the Qingshan Gate and added, correcting them, that he was a boy. A few moments later, at Yifeng's martial arts courtyard, the sun had already set, the crescent moon had filled the sky, and Yifeng was telling Lan Zu to forget about earlier because he was glad that she was there to pay for the book, so he would forgive her. Then he asked them to stay for dinner. In the kitchen, while Yifeng was handing out the Prince of the Wolf Clan to Zhang Qing, saying that they should eat dog meat hot pot that night, Lan Zu and Lu Qingshan were sitting at a table where they were served fruits. They observed Yifeng, and Lan Zu whispered to Lu Qingshan, asking him if he saw anything in Yifeng. Lu Qingshan told her that he couldn't see through Yifeng's cultivation base and concluded that his strength was unfathomable. While Yifeng skillfully sliced the ingredients for his cooking, Lan Zu and Lu Qingshan were observing him. Lu Qingshan told Lan Zu to take a look and pointed out that Yifeng's knife technique looked ordinary, but the sliced ingredients seemed to be reborn again. Continuing to observe Yifeng, Lu Qingshan gritted his teeth and asked Lan Zu if she saw the wolf. Terror filled Lu Qingshan's eyes, and he sweated profusely. He looked at the Prince of the Wolf Clan that was glaring at him while being tied down by a rope and said that if he was not mistaken, that wolf was the rarest one among the monsters, the sky-devouring demon wolf. He couldn't believe that Yifeng was going to use the demon wolf as his food. While Yifeng held his butcher knife, he grabbed the demon wolf by its head, which in turn shrouded itself in aura, and Lan Zu, who had looked at the scene with her eyes filled with worry, said that if they really ate the demon wolf, the demon race wouldn't rest easy, so she was afraid that for the rest of Yifeng's life, he would be chased to death by the demon wolf clan. While Lu Qingshan inconspicuously whispered behind Yifeng's back and told the expectant Lan Zu that those who dared to do such a thing were probably not limited to the realm of martial emperor, because in the rebellion of the gods and demons, it was the demon wolves who dragged the attack of 30,000 Buddhas with the power of the clan that allowed the defeated demon clan to survive. Zhang Qing looked at them incredulously and wondered if they were all right. Suddenly, the demon wolf broke free from the ropes, and as it bared its fangs and roared, Lu Qingshan pointed it out and said that it was ready to fight to the death. Yifeng was surprised when the demon wolf broke free from the ropes by breaking them into pieces, but instead of fighting him to the death like Lu Qingshan said, the demon wolf knelt on the ground and begged Yifeng not to eat him. While Yifeng smiled brightly at the demon wolf, patting its head, saying that it looked just a little bit like the one he had raised before he crossed, and offering it to be his pet, Lu Qingshan had his mouth wide open in surprise, and he was speechless as he could not believe that the demon wolf surrendered and begged for mercy. As Yifeng stepped out of the kitchen, carrying the demon lord in his arms, and called out for Zhang Qing to look at the dog, Lu Qingshan looked away from the scene as he trembled while tears ran down his cheeks. He admired how kind Yifeng had been for letting go of the demon wolf at the last moment, but Lan Zu gently reminded him that it was not the time to be moved. Picturing the butcher knife that Yifeng had wielded earlier, Lan Zu thought that perhaps borrowing a magic weapon from an expert was not a problem, and besides, the knife had just stunned the demon wolf, who had been at the pinnacle of martial arts. Despite being nervous, Lan Zu stood behind Yifeng and gave him a fist palm salute, and with all due respect, she begged him to lend her his knife to save her sect from extinction. With an intimidating look on his face, Yifeng turned to look at her to seek further information. Lu Qingshan panicked to the extent that he slammed Lan Zu's head into the ground and called her an idiot, reprimanding her for exposing her greed like that. Lu Qingshan and Lan Zu faced each other, and they were both sweating profusely and anxious as they realized that Yifeng was not happy anymore. Holding the butcher knife in his hand, Yifeng stood there with an ominous aura shrouding him. But to their surprise, Yifeng handed them the butcher knife with a deadpan expression, saying that if they wanted to borrow it, they could take it as it was not a valuable thing. Upon seeing that they were surprised and speechless, Yifeng asked them what was up and told them to take the butcher knife as he could make 2 or 3 of those in a day. Lu Qingshan thanked Yifeng, and the butcher knife was filled with tears as he held it carefully in his hands. While Lan Zu rejoiced and Lu Qingshan cried, saying that the heavens' blessings seemed to be still on their Qingshan sect's side. Yifeng turned his back on them and thought that they were so pitiful and poor that they couldn't even afford a kitchen knife. The morning had already come, and Lu Qingshan excitedly announced that Ning Xianwu would be dead. On the other hand, at the Xuanwu sect, someone landed on their ground, and the disciples scurried to prepare their master, Ning Xianwu's meal, as his retreat was over. Sitting on his throne half-naked, Ning Xianwu told his disciples that there was no need. He instructed them to bring the messenger from Qingshan Gate as he wanted to see him and told the others to leave, to which all of them responded affirmatively. A few moments later, at the Xuanwu sect's secret room, Ning Xianwu was already fully clothed. Behind him, a man in a cloak bowed and introduced himself as Yu Wuji, who greeted him and told him that he had heard a lot about him, but Ning Xianwu told him not to be hypocritical and just say something, to which he complied. In a suspenseful manner, Yu Wuji told Ning Xianwu that he was there to tell him something that day. And as Yu Wuji told Ning Xianwu that what he had been worried about the other day had indeed happened, Ning Xianwu turned his head and looked at Yu Wuji with a scowl on his face. At the Xuanwu sect's secret room, a candle burned brightly. Yu Wuji was in there with Ning Xianwu, reporting how Lu Qingshan had stepped into the realm of Martial King not long ago, but Ning Xianwu was not threatened by the news. He proudly said that, as everyone else knew, he had been in the realm of Martial King for more than 30 years, so Lu Qingshan was nothing more than a toddler who had just learned to walk. Ning Xianwu sat down as he presumed that if it was just what Yu Wuji wanted to say, then he wouldn't have come there late at night, so he told him that they should talk about the important point, which Yu Wuji complied with. With a serious face, Yu Wuji told Ning Xianwu that earlier that day, Lu Qingshan had hurried back from the outside and summoned all his disciples to the square. Yu Wuji recalled the earlier event as he was one of the disciples that had been summoned to the square, and he had yawned as he asked the Qingshan sect teacher, Zhu Yun, what had happened to Lu Qingshan and why he had wanted them to gather so late. But Zhu Yun had told him that she didn't know as she had just been told that it was a trial. As they looked ahead, Yu Wuji was surprised to see what was in front of them and was rendered speechless, while one of the disciples commented that they were looking at the Qingshan sect test jewel, an extremely tough and indestructible jewel that, even with a heavy blow with a magic weapon, would only leave a few scratches. As they arrived at the square where everyone had gathered in front of the gigantic test jewel, where Lu Qingshan stood, the other disciples noticed them and quickly paid their respect to Zhu Yun, but she told them that there was no need to be polite. After much concentration, Lu Qingshan opened his eyes and glared at the test jewel in front of him. He touched the huge test jewel with his left hand, and he swung Yifeng's kitchen knife in his right. The disciples were both surprised and disappointed when they saw what weapon Lu Qingshan was holding, and Zhu Yun even questioned what the point of trying was when he would just be using a broken kitchen knife. One of the disciples sighed and said that Lu Qingshan was under too much pressure, and they had to call the doctor in advance. Upon hearing his disciples talk, Lu Qingshan's nerves popped, and he was annoyed at those white-eyed wolves talking coldly to his face. But as he was about to use the kitchen knife, Lu Qingshan realized something that stopped him in his tracks. He thought that the power of the knife was still unknown, so it was better to do it gently first. He gave the test jewel a light tap with the kitchen knife, and a crack was already visible. But to his surprise, it did not end there. The test jewel was completely obliterated when an explosive amount of aura was released, and the aura was so strong that the bystander disciples had to protect themselves from its pressure with their arms as it surged towards the sky. The aura shot towards the dark skies, and it could be seen from far away. The parts of the test jewel that were smashed into pieces exploded in all directions. On the other hand, the debris of the explosion reached Jiangping City, where Zhang King was witnessing the phenomenon while she raised up the demon wolf, telling it to take a look at the spectacular meteor swarm. But the demon wolf did not find it as spectacular as Zhang King did, as panic filled his eyes when he saw the meteor spreading and flying in their direction. And he called Zhang King a stupid woman in his head while he recognized that the powerful martial intent and coercion were peerless magic weapons, and he wondered when those cultivators possessed such weapons. Meanwhile, Yifeng was passing by the window in his house, and as the red light filled the room, the scenery of the explosion outside caught his attention. Yifeng's eyes widened and his mouth was wide open as he seemed to have recognized the power that was surging from the explosion. He closed his eyes and joined his palms together. He thought that he was seeing a shooting star and started wishing for him to be able to sit in the harem with countless women and have a lot of money. So if he wanted to eat, he would only need to open his mouth, and if he wanted to wear clothes, he only needed to stretch out his hands. His prayers stretched into 1,000 words. Back at the Qingshan sect square, every disciple was surprised. Zhu Yun's eyes bulged out of their sockets, and she was rendered speechless while Yu Wuji cursed and asked what it was. While Lu Qingshan looked at the kitchen knife with a terrified look on his face, the disciples behind him rejoiced as their Qingshan sect was saved. After processing what had just happened, Lu Qingshan's face lit up, and he couldn't believe that he had been able to try the weapon earlier, and that he hadn't even hit hard at all. He quickly fell in love with the power of the knife that was too domineering. But then, the realization hit Lu Qingshan that he didn't have to use the knife until he had to because it was beyond his control, and that made him realize that Yifeng, who had made the knife, was probably above the realm of martial ancestor. With the pile of rocks crumbling behind him, Lu Qingshan turned to face his disciples and announced that the day after tomorrow, he would wait for the Xuanwu sect and fight to the death, which made his disciples cheer him on in return. Back to the present, Yu Wuji squinted his eyes and said that based on Lu Qingshan's talent, it was not possible for him to break through so quickly. Ning Xianwu crossed his arms while he listened to Yu Wuji say that the same was true for the magic weapon that Lu Qingshan had gotten, so he suspected that someone must have been behind him to help him. Ning Xianwu furrowed his brow, and he seemed to be deep in his thoughts as he was not saying anything. Looking up at Ning Xianwu anxiously, Yu Wuji asked him if they should do something. Suddenly, Ning Xianwu tossed a blue pill and told Yu Wuji that the poison of the ice toad had been attacking his body for 3 days. Yu Wuji's eyes widened as he saw the blue pill pass right before his eyes. Ning Xianwu turned to walk away. He told Yu Wuji that it was his reward for his tip-off that day, so he should work hard because after he was done, he would set him free. And upon hearing what he said, Yu Wuji knelt on the ground while the blue pill rolled in front of him and thanked Ning Xianwu for his kindness. A lady stood in the shadows near the entrance of the Xuanwu sect secret room, and as Ning Xianwu approached her, he called her Linger and told her to follow him to the sword graveyard. The lady was Ling Yar, a female disciple of the Xuanwu sect, and she looked excited as she leaned on the door frame and told Ning Xianwu that she couldn't wait. A few moments later, at the sword graveyard, one disciple reminded his brother about their master's instruction while he was still alive that the soul-dementing sword in the sword graveyard must never be unsealed. But the other disciple told him to stop talking nonsense and open the seal for him, so the other one complied and told the other that he shouldn't regret it. But the seal glowed in front of them before they could do anything to open it, and they were surprised. Ghastly spirits poured out from the door, which made the two disciples run for their lives. Those ghastly spirits drained the life out of the things they passed through. Birds dropped lifelessly to the ground, and plants dried out. Meanwhile, Ning Xianwu and Ling Yar were unaffected by the spirits as they shrouded themselves in aura, and while they floated in the air, Ling Yar said that she did not expect the magic weapon sealed in that graveyard would be so dangerous, which made Ning Xianwu laugh and tell her that it was just the beginning because after eradicating the Qingshan Gate, regardless of the gods or demons, everyone would kneel beneath his feet. With a sinister grin on his face, Ning Xianwu looked ahead and told Ling Yar not to ever doubt his ambition. As they saw the soul-dementing sword rise in front of them, Ning Xianwu declared that he was going to use that magic weapon to defeat the magic weapon. Meanwhile, the ghastly spirits continued to run amok and swirl around a large rock. Somebody arrived at Zhongping City and was surprised to see that it was all empty. There were 3 of them, and they were panting and running around the city looking for medical supplies. One of them started to panic as it had already been less than 4 hours before the decisive battle with the Xuanwu sect, while the other one started to cry and said that even without them, Lu Qingshan could definitely win. The 3 of them looked ahead with serious looks on their faces and said that the kind of duel that was about to happen would eventually affect mortals, so it was okay if they all escaped because if they encountered a little spiritual power, they would die on the spot. Meanwhile, Yifeng was hiking somewhere in the mountains. He was leading the residents of Zhongping City, and they had their packed bags with them. Yifeng suddenly stopped and struck the ground with a wooden pole. Yifeng was carrying a sphere with a red flag tied on its end, and as he gestured towards the higher ground he was standing on, he announced that they had found a good place to watch the duel, which made the residents rejoice as they had been waiting for that duel for a long time. Meanwhile, Yifeng was drooling as he thought about how it was a business opportunity because, although he didn't know who was fighting, there were so many people who wanted to watch that kind of fight, and the location was the highest point around Jiangping City, so the duel could be seen at a glance no matter where it was. As the people crowded towards the edge of the cliff, Yifeng announced that those who wanted to borrow binoculars should line up. He was renting them out for 1 gold for single use, and he encouraged them to grab them as it was a time-limited offer, which caused a commotion as people wanted one. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the cliff, Ning Xianwu and Lu Qingshan stood face to face with each other, and their disciples gathered behind each of them. They both stared off at each other. Ning Xianwu then smiled mockingly as he told Lu Qingshan that he did not expect him to have the courage to attend the battlefield, and hearing that made Lu Qingshan grit his teeth and tell Ning Xianwu that at that moment, there was no certainty on who would live and who would die. As one of them started lunging for an attack, the crowd started cheering. Their movements were so fast that only their colorful auras clashing with each other could be seen. But at the end of the clash, Ning Xianwu overpowered Lu Qingshan, and he was able to punch him in the face, causing Lu Qingshan to cough up blood. Lu Qingshan fell to the ground, and 3 of his disciples quickly dashed towards him to check up on him. But Lu Qingshan quickly stood up like nothing had happened and instructed his disciples not to come. While Ning Xianwu emitted an enormous and intimidating amount of aura in front of him, Lu Qingshan admitted to himself that his realm was already far behind Ning Xianwu, and if he hadn't been promoted to the realm of Martial King after reading Yifeng's book, he would have been unable to fight at that moment. And as Lu Qingshan thought that he could only pin his hope on something, Ning Xianwu called out to him with a sinister aura. He told him that he knew what he was up to and provoked him to show it up, his magic weapon. Lu Qingshan was so surprised that his face turned pale, his eyes bulged out, and his mouth was wide open while he was sweating profusely, wondering how Ning Xianwu knew about his magic weapon. While Lu Qingshan was surprised, along with his other disciples, Yu Wuji stood behind him and sneered at him. With an evil smile, Ning Xianwu asked Lu Qingshan if he thought he would let his sneak attack succeed. He jumped off the ground, and he extended his arms as he released the Soul Eater sword, releasing the ghastly spirits along with it. The Xuanwu sect disciples rejoiced as they saw the magic weapon, while Ling Yar proudly smiled and said that the Soul Eater sword, which could only be used once by consuming decades of life, could easily erode the spiritual power of any weapon, so the weapons below the holy objects were just like a handful of weapons in front of it. Meanwhile, Lu Qingshan nervously and hesitantly pulled out the ordinary kitchen knife from behind him, and upon seeing it, the Qingshan Gate disciples were horrified and said that their sect was over because no matter what weapon it was, it would be restrained by the Soul Eater sword. As Lu Qingshan raised the ordinary kitchen knife to protect himself, Ning Xianwu, who was surrounded by the ghastly spirits, laughed as he couldn't believe that Lu Qingshan's magic weapon was really a kitchen knife. The disciples of the Xuanwu laughed too, including Ling Yar, and as one of the disciples questioned what a broken knife could even do, another commented that the dignified ancestor Lu Qingshan unexpectedly turned into a fool who used a knife to fight against the Soul Eater sword, which cracked up the other disciples. Meanwhile, during the fight, Lu Qingshan was backed into the edge of the cliff by Ning Xianwu, who was mocking and taunting him to show him how strong his magic weapon broken kitchen knife was. Lu Qingshan trembled as he looked at the kitchen knife in his hand and cursed in his mind, saying that he had lost momentum as he was worried about the kitchen knife in his hand because, after all, he had borrowed it from Yifeng. As Lu Qingshan thought about what would happen if the kitchen knife's spiritual power was eaten away by the Soul Eater sword and it became an ordinary knife, snot came out of his nose as he trembled and cried out loud, asking Yifeng what he should do. Suddenly, someone yelled, cheering for Lu Qingshan to hang in there. It was Yifeng, and as he stood at the edge of the cliff, with the people behind him using the binoculars he had rented to watch the fight, he gestured his hand and asked Lu Qingshan how he could give up so easily. While the people behind him continued to watch the fight using the binoculars, Yifeng yelled that they had finished fighting so quickly that he had made more than a dozen binoculars for nothing, so it was up to them how much money he could make, and in his mind, he thought that the binoculars were all rented out and he didn't know what exactly was going on down there, who was with whom and what the situation was. Lu Qingshan's eyes popped out as soon as Yifeng's voice reached his ears. He saw Yifeng standing at the edge of the cliff above him, yelling at him unintelligibly while a lot of people with binoculars stood behind him. Lu Qingshan's jaw dropped when he recognized Yifeng and saw that he had actually brought so many people to the battlefield to cheer him on. Determination filled Lu Qingshan's eyes as he thought about how he had just heard Yifeng encourage him, and he exclaimed to his god about what a supreme encouragement it had been. He raised the kitchen knife in the air proudly as he realized how shameful it had been for him to be timid in front of the enemy, and he had almost insulted the honor of the knife. Lu Qingshan dug his feet into the ground to gain momentum, and with a determined look on his face, Lu Qingshan released his golden aura while glaring at the enemy as he declared to himself that he knew what to do. Ning Xianwu stood in front of him, still surrounded by the ghastly spirits, while he held the Soul Eater sword, and he continued to mock Lu Qingshan, asking him what the matter was and if he was planning on cutting cans. Ning Xianwu jumped up in the air, and as he gestured his sword towards Lu Qingshan, who was standing still below him, the ghastly spirits lunged towards Lu Qingshan simultaneously. Lu Qingshan swung the kitchen knife towards him as he prepared to slash the ghastly spirits in front of him. And as he was about to swing out the kitchen knife, he was surprised when the ghastly spirits reached him first. But despite all of it, Lu Qingshan was still able to swing the knife at full force, releasing a slashing golden aura, and used the skill, usual ordinary knife attack, which effortlessly sliced through the ghastly spirits. Lu Qingshan's golden slash was so strong that it was able to reach Ning Xianwu, who was extremely surprised by the kitchen knife's strength. Ning Xianwu screamed in pain as the golden aura started to dissolve him into nothingness. The disciples of the Xuanwu sect were surprised when they saw the kitchen knife's power, and how it was able to actually smash the Soul Eater sword with just a single attack, while Ling Yar looked worried and called out for her master, Ning Xianwu. The golden aura continued to move forward, and it sliced the rocks that were in its way, creating a trench on the ground. The ground trembled as the two great forces of aura clashed with each other. But despite the chaos, Ling Yar still managed to think about how Ning Xianwu was in trouble and commanded the Xuanwu sect to go and protect him. On the other hand, Zhu Yun commanded the Qingshan sect to take advantage of the situation to kill the Xuanwu sect and send them back to their lair, to which Lan Zhu responded affirmatively. As the Xuanwu sect started to run away and the Qingshan sect chased behind them, Lu Qingshan stopped the Qingshan sect and told them not to chase the Xuanwu, which surprised Lan Zhu, and she told him that it was a good chance to destroy the Xuanwu sect. Lu Qingshan then told Lan Zhu to look at the red flag above them and told her that Yifeng just stood there and watched silently, so he was afraid that if they continued fighting, he would be displeased. Raising the kitchen knife, Lu Qingshan said that Yifeng, who didn't care about fame and fortune, had lent him the artifact, so in his inference, Yifeng didn't want the destruction of either side. Lan Zhu's eyes widened in surprise when she realized what Lu Qingshan was trying to say, that what Yifeng wanted was balance, to which, with a serious face looking ahead, Lu Qingshan added that Yifeng wanted them to check and keep balance between the two sides in order to protect the peace of the people of Jiangping. The light of the path shone on earth. The Qingshan sect twinkled and was enlightened as Lu Qingshan said that with such a mind and heart, Yifeng was very worthy to be upheld and respected for the rest of their lives because, compared to him, they were just creatures as small as ants. Meanwhile, Yifeng looked at the fight below with a dissatisfied look on his face. The people of Jiangping realized that the fight was over, so they all started to disperse, going back to their regular lives as they each had something to do. Yifeng tried to stop them and tell them there was still more, an amazing fight between Godzilla and King Kong. But the people did not listen to Yifeng, leaving him alone with his binoculars scattered on the ground. He complained about how the guys down there couldn't last a little longer, and he wondered how he was supposed to do business if they didn't fight. A few moments later, Yifeng passed through the woods as he went down the mountain when someone suddenly called out to him and asked him why he was there. It was a girl in a cloak, and Yifeng recognized her as Peng Ying. His face lit up, and he quickly approached Peng Ying, tapped her on the shoulder, and asked her what was up. He puckered his lips as he asked her if she was there to meet her childhood sweetheart. Peng Ying said nothing as she looked at Yifeng with a blank expression on her face, and her expression turned dark as she removed her cloak. Slapping his hands off her shoulder, Peng Ying told Yifeng that he had misunderstood, as she was just there by the order of his master to find a man of high repute. Yifeng was surprised when he heard Peng Ying talking about a master. Yifeng looked up at Peng Ying with surprise written all over his face, while Peng Ying looked the other way. She told him that he had been a good person and that she knew what he meant, and then apologized. With a cold stare, Peng Ying glanced at Yifeng and told him that she had joined the Qingshan sect with the help of the senior, and she reminded him that he knew that it had been absolutely impossible for her to join the Qingshan sect with her qualifications. The atmosphere turned gloomy as she continued to say that it had always been her dream to be able to enter the Qingshan gate and learn martial arts practices, so she promised that senior that she would never interact with other men in the future. Yifeng was petrified when he heard what Peng Ying had just said. Longing filled Yifeng's eyes as Peng Ying walked away and said goodbye, saying that they should not meet again in the future. A few moments later, Peng Ying approached Yu Wuji, who asked her if she had someone up there, to which she replied that there had been only one mortal. Yu Wuji clicked his tongue and crossed his arms as he told Peng Ying that he had asked her to find the expert, but she had ended up playing with other guys around. He reminded her about the promise that she had made to him, which made Peng Ying panic and ask for him to let her explain. Peng Ying grabbed Yu Wuji's hands and told him that Yifeng was just a cheap martial arts hall owner. She wrapped her arms around Yu Wuji's arm and told him that Yifeng could only daydream all day and write some shit and unreasonable martial arts secrets, so Yifeng could never be better than him. She added that if it hadn't been for a coincidence, she wouldn't have bothered to care about Yifeng. Peng Ying squeezed Yu Wuji's arms, closed her eyes, and blushed as she consoled him and told him not to be angry as he was the only one in her heart. Unbeknownst to Peng Ying, Yu Wuji looked down on her with an evil grin, and in his thoughts, he called her a stupid woman. He thought that her looking for someone was incompetent because if it hadn't been for her looks, even ghosts wouldn't have bothered to care about her. Yu Wuji then clenched his hands so hard that veins started popping out on them, and in his mind, he couldn't accept that Ning Xianwu, who had slaughtered the entire sword family, had single-handedly lost, and he blamed the unknown expert for getting in the way. Yu Wuji started sweating so much, and his expressions turned dark as he thought about how he had to do something quickly. Otherwise, when Ning Xianwu recovered from his injury, he would definitely be angry with him. Peng Ying noticed his demeanor, and she got worried and asked him if he was okay. A sudden realization hit Yu Wuji when the words martial arts hall and books hit him. He remembered that Lan Zhu had bought a martial art book from a certain martial arts hall in Jiangping that had helped Lu Qingshan break through. Yu Wuji cupped Peng Ying's face in between the palms of his hands and confirmed with her that she had said that the guy from earlier owned a martial arts hall, and that his usual hobby was writing books, which she confirmed but said that he was just a mortal. Yu Wuji leaped away from Peng Ying while laughing and said that it had been wonderful. With an evil look in his eyes, he thought that if Yifeng had been really an expert, he would have just needed to sit back and watch the Xuanwu sect fight with him, and he would have justified that. On the contrary, it would have been just right to use Yifeng as the object of the Xuanwu sect to vent out their anger. Rain poured down and hit the land as Yu Wuji said that after all, Yifeng had been immortal, so he shouldn't have blamed him for being cruel, using him as his scapegoat, as it had been his fate and he had deserved it. He laughed maniacally and claimed that heaven had turned out to be helping him too. At the Xuanwu sect, someone yelled that they were so pissed off. It was Ning Xianwu, who had had his arms cut off and bandaged, and veins had popped out all over his body as he yelled at Yu Wuji, who hadn't found anything yet but had brought himself to their door. Yu Wuji knelt down in front of Ning Xianwu, and with Ling Yar by his side, he trembled and kept on asking for forgiveness, saying that he had already found out that Lan Zhu and Lu Qingshan had gotten the knife from an expert in Jiangping City. He went on all fours and bowed his head as he added that the person owned a martial arts gym in Jiangping City, which startled Ning Xianwu and Ling Yar. Yu Wuji continued to tremble and sweat profusely as he continued to tell Ning Xianwu that although other information had not been found yet, as long as Ning Xianwu looked for it, he would definitely find it. Ning Xianwu gritted his teeth and furrowed his brows, looking extremely mad, and said that what Yu Wuji said was bullshit because if there were any high-level martial art experts living in Jiangping City, it was impossible that he hadn't known them yet. He then said that he wanted to see which martial expert was helping Lu Qingshan. Ling Yar then interjected and told Ning Xianwu that she was willing to investigate the matter, but Ning Xianwu refused her offer and said that they had other plans. Ning Xianwu then said that he had already chosen someone for the matter, and then he called for Wu Chen, who immediately landed on the roof of the room they were in. Glancing behind him, Ning Xianwu told Wu Chen that although there were usually restrictions on him, this was the time when he was needed, and Ning Xianwu confirmed if Wu Chen knew what to do. Wu Chen grinned and confidently said that Ning Xianwu should leave the matter to him. A few moments had passed, and everything was peaceful back at Yifeng Martial Art Gym. A smell was coming out of the room, and Zhang King came in with a worried look on his face, as he thought that Yifeng hadn't been out of his room for 3 days, so it seemed that Peng Ying had really hurt him. When he entered the room, Zhang King was taken aback as it was extremely chaotic. Crumpled papers were scattered on the floor, and Yifeng sat down at the end of the room while something smoked in front of him. Worry filled Zhang King's eyes even more, as he hadn't seen Yifeng in a few days and the room was already in such a mess, so it seemed that Yifeng was really sad, and it was unbearable to be so infatuated to end up like that. Zhang King approached Yifeng and told him that he might be able to help, while in his mind he was telling Yifeng not to worry as he was there and he would never let him fall like that. But to his surprise, Yifeng did not look like he was hurting at all. He wrote with his left hand and fanned a barbecue with his right, and as he turned to look at Zhang King, he was surprised that Zhang King wanted to help because he was going to give him barbecue but he wanted to work. But then realization hit Zhang King. Yifeng was acting nonchalantly and whistling when he noticed that Zhang King was looking at him with eyes filled with worry. Zhang King furrowed his brow as he emotionally looked at Yifeng and thought that Yifeng must have been too sad but didn't want to show it to him. And it was a pity that he was a boy, and he couldn't help Yifeng. Zhang King asked Yifeng about his love, and to his surprise, Yifeng, while eating some barbecue, told him that Peng Ying had just been his childhood sweetheart. Yifeng's face was filled with enlightenment as he said that women would only affect the speed at which he made money, and the speed at which he could barbecue. Zhang King's eyes widened, and he was speechless. Yifeng then told Zhang King to go and sell the books because he wanted to change the carriage next month, so it was all up to him. As Yifeng asked Zhang King what he was waiting for and told him to go and work hard. Before he could react, Zhang King was already on the streets, petrified. When he came to his senses, he noticed something. Zhang King looked at the kind of books he was holding, and by looking at them and reading the titles of the books, stories of men from 3 countries, the story of a group of women and a man, the story of 3 women and 105 men, the story of 4 monsters and a man, he found them so strange. As he wondered if those books could really be sold, he tripped at the curb, making the books fly in the air. Meanwhile, in the suburbs of Jiangping City, someone called out for help. It was a man with an already disfigured head, and Wu Chen held it. He called him an idiot and said that even if the King of Heaven came, he would be able to save him. And the man screamed from the top of his lungs as Wu Chen pulled out his spirit from him, leaving only his bones like the pile behind him. Wu Chen flicked his arms and threw the man, adding him to the pile of dried-out corpses behind him, and said that if only the taste of that man was good, he could fill his stomach, and he really hoped that the guy who ran the martial arts gym could satisfy him. Suddenly, someone confronted Wu Chen, saying that young people had to be forgiving and advised him not to go to Jiangping City anymore. It was an old man who was lecturing him and telling him that he was on his way to Jiangping City to pay a visit to an old acquaintance, so he was not allowed to mess around. Veins popped out of Wu Chen's face, and he was annoyed as he asked the old man if he was kidding. But as Wu Chen was about to tell the old man to shut his mouth, he was cut off when that old man attacked him by summoning a huge palm to smash him into the ground and telling him to die. As the palm was about to hit Wu Chen, his face contorted in fear, and he was surprised that the old man was a realm above the martial king. The gigantic palm hit the ground with such a huge impact. Dust blew out everywhere. And while the old man's attack left a huge dent on the ground in front of him, he was surprised to see that Wu Cheng was not there, and he wondered how a martial artist cultivating evil spirits could escape from his blow earlier. A sudden realization hit the old man. He recalled that Wu Chen had pulled out something earlier just as he was about to get hit by his attack, and he just recognized it as the sacred stone. He thought that if the treasure of the emperor had fallen into the hands of such an evil cultivator, then he was afraid that a small city like Jiangping was probably going to suffer. On the other hand, at Jiangping City, Wu Chen was hiding, and he thought that it had been fortunate that he had had the treasure with him. Otherwise, he would have died earlier. Looking at Yifeng's martial arts gym, Wu Chen said that he had killed all the people in the other martial arts gym, so it had been the last one. With a sinister look on his face, Wu Chen laughed and said that it had not been a problem for him at all. And as he wondered if the shitty martial art gym in front of him had been the home of the unknown expert he had been looking for, he incited the expert to show him what he had been capable of. The sacred stone was an evil object used by the founding ancestor of the Xuanwu sect when he killed the immortals, and even in the face of attacks from the higher realms, it could turn the odds in favor of the holder. Ling Yar looked displeased as she asked Ning Xianwu why he didn't send her, and Ning Xianwu told her that Wu Chen had his sacred stone in his hands, so even if there was an accident, the sacred stone could protect him from any worries, so they just needed to wait for Wu Chen to bring good news. Wu Chen arrived in front of Yifeng's martial arts gym, and he laughed as he let out a blue aura at the tip of his fingers and said that the martial arts gym did not even have a name, so he assumed that it was totally garbage. He flicked his finger and threw the aura towards the signboard at the martial arts gym's entrance. Wu Chen literally stepped over the threshold without another glance because of a broken plaque and confidently started to plan out where he would start destroying next. But unbeknownst to him, what he did triggered something, and he was taken aback when the signboard he had just attacked burst into flames and emitted a golden aura. Suddenly, multiple kinds of weapons formed out of the fire and were all pointed towards Wu Chen. He cursed at the pressure that was trying to kill him, but he confidently brought out the sacred stone and thought that he was fortunate that he could do everything with it. But to Wu Chen's surprise, the attack hit him directly, creating holes in his body, and all he could do was scream in pain. He could not understand what was happening as his face started to contort and dissolve into nothingness. Wu Chen disappeared without leaving a trace of his body, and all that was left was the sacred stone that fell to the ground. Silence filled the entrance of Yifeng's martial arts gym as the dust that had been stirred up by the attack started to settle down and dissipate. A few moments later, Yifeng arrived at the martial arts gym, followed by Zhang King, who had a bump on his head. Yifeng immediately noticed the sacred stone, picked it up, wondered who had dropped the stone, and said that it was really beautiful. Yifeng raised his brows and smiled as an idea came to him. He then placed the sacred stone at the broken part of the curb, using it to mend the spot, and Zhang King was so surprised that the size was just right. A few moments later, two people played Xianqi, and one of them obviously overpowered the other as one of the hands trembled and hesitated to make the next move. It was the old man from earlier, and he told his opponent, Yifeng, that when he first started, he thought that he was on the same level as him. But when he observed closely, he couldn't see through him. Looking bored, Yifeng told him that it was not surprising that he couldn't see through him because he was the one who taught him chess, while in his thoughts, he wondered how the old man was there to see him again. The old man sweated and thought that he had come there to play many times, but he still couldn't see Yifeng's true cultivation. He opened his eyes and looked at Yifeng with suspicion in his eyes, as he thought that there were so many secret techniques on the Xianjiang continent. But Yifeng cultivated a technique that made others unable to see through his cultivation, and he did not exaggerate it in the slightest. As Yifeng looked at him with a serious face, he thought that if there were such a person, it would have been impossible to be an unknown person in the cultivation world. The old man was lost deep in his thoughts as he continued to think and wonder if Yifeng was really better than him. He was so absorbed in his thoughts that he was surprised when Yifeng told him that it was his turn and he was on checkmate. He questioned when he got checkmated because he did not notice. Suddenly, something caught the old man's attention. He had stepped on the curb, and he was surprised when he saw the sacred stone that was used to mend the broken spot. He then wondered if Wu Chen had been executed on the spot by Yifeng. As Yifeng politely bowed down to him and thanked him for letting him win, the old man thought about the meaning behind Yifeng using such a valued treasure to block the threshold, and he figured that Yifeng was trying to convey the message that he could pull the sacred stone at will, and was challenging him to see what he could do. The old man analyzed that based on Yifeng's cultivation, he should have known the value of the sacred stone, but he was still trapped on the treasure like that. He thought that whether it was scheming or a chess game, Yifeng was a bit more powerful than he had thought. And with all the hints Yifeng had made, he realized that it was a different level of competition. As the old man realized how Yifeng could have been so confident, he smiled confidently as he thought that Yifeng seemed to have underestimated him. He then called out to Yifeng to help him look at something, and then he suddenly pulled out his sacred weapon, acting like it was an accident, and asked Yifeng to scratch his back with it as it had been itchy. As the rake sparkled, Yifeng looked at it with awe, and something seemed to have hit him. The old man held his head up and looked proud as he saw Yifeng's reaction, and he thought about how he hadn't just exhausted his possessions. He had even lost half of his life in order to obtain the treasure, the seven-tooth holy rake. But the old man was surprised, and he got mad when Yifeng approached him, rubbed the rake's pole, and with tears in his eyes, told him to throw it away as it had been rusty and said that it must have been very inconvenient to do farm work. With tears forming at the corner of his eyes, Yifeng said that he should have discovered that the old man had been looking for him to play chess again and deliberately lost to him so he could help him repair his farm tools, which extremely surprised the old man. As the old man thought about how Yifeng had actually insulted the artifact that he had been so proud of, Yifeng took the seven-tooth holy rake out of his hands and told him not to be excited. Yifeng looked at the old man with pity as he thought about how farming was not easy and, in the end, it had been the only thing to make a living for a farmer, so it was not strange to be anxious when something went wrong with the rake. As Yifeng entered his home and told the old man to just wait a moment for him, the old man gritted his teeth, and he was fuming mad. He thought that since Yifeng looked down on his seven-tooth holy rake so much, then he wanted to see what else he could come up with that could be compared to his seven-tooth holy rake. At Yifeng's martial arts gym forging house, as Yifeng was about to forge the seven-tooth holy rake, Zhang King called out to him and told him that the grandfather who had borrowed the kitchen knife earlier, Lu Qingshan, wanted to see him, and Yifeng then referred to him as the cook at Qingshan farmhouse. Zhang King told Yifeng that Lu Qingshan had said they had come to pay their respects, which confused Yifeng. But then he instructed Zhang King to let them in first, and he would come as soon as he had finished forging the farm tools. Lu Qingshan came with Zhu Yun, who asked him if there had really been anyone living in that shabby place, and Lu Qingshan quickly shut her up and told her to put away her little temper in front of Yifeng. Lu Qingshan reminded her about the power of the knife and told her that if Yifeng got unhappy, the consequences would be disastrous. But Zhu Yun thought that Lu Qingshan was exaggerating. As Zhu Yun took a step forward, she stepped on the sacred stone, and sweat ran down her face as she was both confused and surprised at what she had just felt. She jumped out in surprise when she realized that she had been stepping on a sacred stone. She knew that it had been the treasure of the Xuanwu sect founder, and she looked at it anxiously and thought about how it had been used to mend the threshold. She was crouching on the ground, inspecting the sacred stone further, when she realized that Lu Qingshan had already walked ahead of her, and she immediately called out to him, asking him to wait for her. Zhu Yun came running towards Lu Qingshan and told him that she suspected that there was something wrong with the origin of Yifeng, so she suggested that they leave, but Lu Qingshan cut her off, said that she was talking nonsense, and told her to keep her eyes open and see clearly. With the clanging sound in the background, Zhu Yun asked Lu Qingshan what he was looking at so she could get a good look. An image of golden dragons was forming in the sky, and they were coming from the seven-tooth holy rake while Yifeng forged it. Seeing the scene in front of him, Lu Qingshan trembled, and he repeatedly told Zhu Yun that it was a small scene and not to panic. But Zhu Yun pointed out that he was obviously the most flustered of the two of them. Zhu Yun bit her lower lip. She could not believe that she was looking at the seven-tooth holy rake, and she thought that she had been blinded. She could not accept that it was real because, according to legend, the magic weapon had been used by the Nine Heavens' profound goddess to eradicate the demons in Shengjing. Zhu Yun looked apprehensive as she called Lu Qingshan, who had been looking apprehensive as well, and confirmed with him that it was not fake, it was the seven-tooth holy rake. They noticed the old man from earlier and saw that he exuded the same martial intent as the rake, so they deduced that the rake must have been his. And Lu Qingshan said that people who could use sacred weapons since ancient times had been at least above the realm of martial emperor. The old man sat there, exuding an intense, fiery golden aura that shrouded him. As they looked at the old man, both Zhu Yun and Lu Qingshan thought that he looked a bit like the madman who had slaughtered the 6 towns of Xianzhou. But that madman had been missing for 30 years, so they didn't think that it was such a coincidence. The old man noticed the two of them, and with a fierce look in his eyes and a cup of drink in his hand, he called out to them. Zhu Yun and Lu Qingshan immediately shriveled, and they were both sweating profusely. The old man's aura quickly changed into a friendly one, and he asked the two of them if they had been there to find Yifeng, and he invited them to come and have a cup of tea. Lu Qingshan awkwardly scratched the back of his head and agreed to the old man's invitation, which extremely surprised Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun looked scared, and she told Lu Qingshan that they should just hand over the knife and gift to Yifeng and leave. But Lu Qingshan glanced at her and told her that he was afraid that it was too late. The golden dragons came out of the fogging house, and upon seeing them, Lu Qingshan told Zhu Yun that it was not the right time. Yifeng raised his hammer into the air and hit the seven-tooth holy rake with all his might. And with that final strike, Yifeng sighed and wiped the sweat off his head as he declared that it was finally finished. The seven-tooth holy rake looked shiny and brand new, and Yifeng was pleased with the result and felt really good. Lu Qingshan was astonished, and he could not believe that Yifeng had actually restored a semi-holy weapon into a true holy weapon. Zhu Yun was also surprised, and she wondered how Yifeng had been able to do that and added that with a holy weapon, one could dominate the world. As Zhu Yun was about to ask just who Yifeng was, panic struck her when she saw Yifeng walking straight towards them with huge strides and an ominous aura, and she asked Lu Qingshan what they should do. Lu Qingshan told her not to panic and look at the old man, who just sat there calmly as Yifeng ran towards him with the shiny seven-tooth holy rake. Both of them thought that the old man had just seen such a spectacular scene, but his heart had been as still as water. But unbeknownst to them, the old man had been shaking and cursing in his mind when he had seen that Yifeng had actually forged his broken holy weapon directly into a true holy weapon. And that had been the moment he had realized how ridiculous the previous competitive comparison had been. The old man stood up to receive the holy weapon, but he had been taken aback when Yifeng had told him that it was not for free, but that he would give him a 50% discount. The old man's mind had been in chains because he had thought that even if Yifeng had given him a discount on the holy weapon, he couldn't have afforded it because he had already spent his entire fortune just to obtain the slightly damaged seven-tooth holy rake and had lost half of his life in exchange for it. So he had been afraid that he couldn't take the rake at the moment. With a bored look on his face, Yifeng had asked the old man what was wrong and if he didn't have enough money, while thinking what a poor thing the old man had been for not having a single gold coin. Yifeng suddenly told the old man that it was just a rake, so if he didn't have enough money, he would give it to him for free. And upon hearing what he had just said, the jaws of the 3 cultivators in front of him had dropped. The old man had jumped up and his heart had been struck when he had heard that Yifeng was giving the holy weapon to him for free. And instead of calling him brother, he had then called him Mr. Yi and had told him to accept his bow, which had extremely surprised Yifeng. As for him, he had only fixed the old man's farm tool, so he couldn't understand what was going on. The old man, Wu Yonghong, wailed and told Yifeng that his kindness was etched in his heart, and maybe he didn't need him for the rest of his life, but he swore on his life that if he had any use for him, he would gladly die. On the other hand, Zhu Yun and Lu Qingshan shivered and were surprised when they confirmed that Wu Yonghong really was one of the 4 madmen who had slaughtered the 6 towns of Xianjiang. It then started to rain. As the rain poured and lightning struck, Wu Yonghong raised his hand and vowed in the name of heaven and earth that if there was a violation, he would be destroyed. All the while, Yifeng stood behind him, looking extremely surprised, holding an umbrella, while Wu Yonghong raised the holy weapon in front of Zhu Yun and Lu Qingshan, who were both surprised. Yifeng watched them from the side and thought that Wu Yonghong, who was on his deathbed, doing something like that was really embarrassing to watch. As if to prove that the vow was the real deal, a lightning strike struck Wu Yonghong after vowing in the name of heaven and earth. Lu Qingshan expressed his disbelief. He thought it would be impossible for him to witness the vows of heaven and earth. But he actually did, leaving him with no regrets in his life. Zhu Yun didn't know what the vows of heaven and earth were, so Lu Qingshan explained to her that the vow was a kind of contract that could only be signed by a martial emperor existence. With heaven and earth as evidence, once signed, it would be an absolute contract that could not be violated. For him to be able to make a powerful person like Wu Yonghong take the vows of heaven and earth, Lu Qingshan wondered how terrifying the realm of Yifeng's cultivation base was. Wu Yonghong informed Yifeng that the contract had been established. He then said that he would do whatever Yifeng wanted him to do. Yifeng asked Wu Yonghong if he had really done whatever he wanted. Wu Yonghong quickly replied, saying that he had. But to his surprise, Yifeng forced him out of the martial arts gym forging house. Wu Yonghong was under the impression that a man like him wasn't needed by Yifeng, whom he thought was a man of honor. But the contract had already been signed. Wu Yonghong told Yifeng that he would repay his kindness. He then said that the mountains would never change, the water would always flow long. Just like that, they would see each other again. Yifeng thought that Wu Yonghong was just a stupid middle-aged man. Zhu Yun was shocked. She didn't think that you would actually ignore the heaven contract of the city slaughter demon. Lu Qingshan believed that that kind of thing could only be done by Yifeng. After dealing with Wu Yonghong, Yifeng finally had the chance to ask Lu Qingshan and Zhu Yun what they had come for. Moments later, after knowing that they had come to give him a gift, Yifeng told Lu Qingshan and Zhu Yun that they were too polite. When Yifeng said that the glass ball's workmanship was pretty good, Lu Qingshan couldn't help but wonder if their Qingshan treasure flame orb was just a ball in Yifeng's eyes. After feeling the warmth of the Qingshan treasure flame orb, Yifeng felt satisfied and said that he could use it as a warm baby in winter. Lu Qingshan and Zhu Yun were glad that Yifeng liked their gift, but they just felt that there was a slight gap in their hearts. Yifeng told Zhu Yun that it just so happened that he had finished writing a novel, so he would give it to her as a gift in return. Zhu Yun was startled after learning that the title of the book was Flying Snow Shoots the White Deer. She was certain that the book was full of pure martial arts since her master had been promoted because of it. She quickly told Yifeng that they would be taking their leave already, saying that their farmhouse had still been busy. After thanking Yifeng, Zhu Yun immediately ran away, leaving her master behind. She was thinking that with the book, she would be able to break through immediately. Seeing how excited Zhu Yun and Lu Qingshan were, Yifeng wondered if they were his first fans. Suddenly, Zhang King called Yifeng, informing him that his carriage was ready. The moment they got out, the carriage's coachman was surprised and told Yifeng that it was a pleasure to be at his service. Yifeng yelled at Zhang King, pointing out to him that he was supposed to look for a donkey cart so they could save some money. But Zhang King just said to Yifeng that he had prepared the best carriage for him since he was going out. Out of irritation, blood flowed out of Yifeng's mouth, but he didn't pursue the matter any further. He told Zhang King that maybe he would become a billionaire when he got back. Zhang King couldn't help but ask Yifeng what he was going to do for him to have that confidence. Yifeng didn't reveal anything to Zhang King. He just told him that he would know when he got back. Meanwhile, at Qingshan Gate, Lu Qingshan was furious. He scolded Zhu Yun for accepting the book without his permission, saying that he had been about to decline it. He then told Zhu Yun that it wasn't time for her to retreat and that she wouldn't be able to grasp the supreme pure martial arts intent in the book, telling her that the water was too deep for her. Since he seemed to be saying that he didn't want it, Zhu Yun ordered Lu Qingshan to let go of her book. In response, Lu Qingshan reminded Zhu Yun how she didn't believe him when he told her about Yifeng. Zhu Yun reasoned that she hadn't expected that there would be a great power in the little Jiangping city. Lu Qingshan informed Zhu Yun that in ancient times, Jiangping was the place where the immortal families practiced, so it was sufficient to say that Jiangping was not an ordinary place. Zhu Yun wondered how it was related to Yifeng. Suddenly, Lu Qingshan shared with Zhu Yun that he thought Yifeng might be in the next big game. Yifeng entered the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, carrying a book with him. His financial situation was beyond any help. But if the deal that he came for happened, Yifeng thought that he would be able to live a life free from worries. A middle-aged man, who didn't seem to be expecting Yifeng's arrival, informed Yifeng that someone called Boss Mao wanted him to go to the guest room. As soon as he entered the room, a man immediately invited Yifeng to have some tea. The man told Yifeng that he had read his novel and thought it was wonderful, especially the Stardust verses. For his part, Yifeng felt awkward. He didn't remember writing the part that the man mentioned. He wondered if the man had really read the novel he wrote. The man then said that those of them who did business of hundreds of millions of dollars respected cultural people the most. Yifeng reminded the man that he had promised to continue printing the book. But to his disappointment, the man said to him that printing those fairy tales of his was quite unnecessary. The man was actually the chairman of Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, Mao Lin, who was a mortal. Mao Lin explained to Yifeng that it couldn't be helped since they were a large chamber of commerce, and there were a bunch of people below pointing at him to feed. He thought that Yifeng's stuff just didn't pay off. Mao Lin said that just thinking about the books gave him a headache. But he asked Yifeng to not take his words personally, saying that he was just a more straightforward person. Mao Lin then offered Yifeng some money so he could try elsewhere. He said that he would definitely help Yifeng since he saved his life. Yifeng stood up and quickly declined Mao Lin's offer. Mao Lin looked down on Yifeng so much that he even had the audacity to tell Yifeng to visit him again next time. As he watched Yifeng's back, Mao Lin thought to himself that Yifeng's books were nothing more than a little piece of junk. Suddenly, Mao Lin's daughter, Yuna, entered the room and asked Mao Lin who the person he had a meeting with was. When Mao Lin asked her why she came, Yuna reminded Mao Lin that he had promised to introduce her to the author of Dream of Red Mansions. She then asked Mao Lin why he hadn't introduced her yet, and if Yifeng was the author. Day by day, Yuna had been getting addicted to Yifeng's books. Mao Lin was afraid that she wasn't even learning about business at all. He informed Yuna that Yifeng would not continue publishing books in their commerce. Yuna was aware that the sales volume of Dream of the Red Mansions made a lot of money for the Chamber of Commerce, so she couldn't understand why they would suddenly stop publishing the books. Mao Lin told Yuna that Yifeng was just a poor peasant and that if he didn't help him, he wouldn't have a chance to publish a book. For him, Yifeng's book was just a drop in the bucket compared to the center of gravity of their Chamber of Commerce. Mao Lin then ordered Yuna to study business from the seniors of the Chamber of Commerce. Yuna expressed how she hated doing business. She told Mao Lin that even if she wanted to do business, her reading wouldn't affect it. Mao Lin demanded Yuna not to say another word. It was a critical period of competition with the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce. He ordered someone to take Yuna away and not to let her out until she checked out all of the accounts from the previous few days. Yuna pleaded with her father to hear her out, but to no avail. She got locked in her own room. Meanwhile, somewhere on the streets, Yifeng grumbled about life not being easy for everyone. Moments later, Lan Zhu and Luo Lai, who had just been walking on the street, saw Yifeng. Luo Lai asked Yifeng what he was doing there. Yifeng, who was initially surprised, told Lan Zhu and Luo Lai what had happened. After hearing Yifeng's story, Lan Zhu expressed that she hadn't expected that Yifeng was the author of all the popular novels in Jiangping City. She then said that it just happened that her uncle had told them to deliver some fruits to Yifeng. Luo Lai remembered that Lan Zhu had been enjoying reading novels recently. She was about to reveal something, but she suddenly stopped talking. Yifeng was confused as to why Luo Lai had suddenly become silent. Lan Zhu held Luo Lai's head while ordering her to shut up. She even pinched Luo Lai's rear just to make sure that she wouldn't reveal anything. Luo Lai transformed. She promised Lan Zhu that she would never let her admiration for Yifeng's literary skills get in the way. She then demanded Lan Zhu to stop pinching her rear. Yifeng was once again shocked by Luo Lai's transformation. He advised Luo Lai that she needed to cure her constitution. Luo Lai just told Yifeng that he could eat as much fruit as he liked. Although he was still having a hard time adjusting to Luo Lai's transformed state, Yifeng still replied, saying that he would gladly take the fruits. Lan Zhu stared at Yifeng. She still couldn't believe that he was the author of the books she liked. She hadn't expected Yifeng's heart to be so delicate, soft, and firm, and that family and sect affairs, as well as the love of his disciple, could all come together in one person. When Yifeng suddenly turned in her direction, Lan Zhu quickly looked away. At the same time, Luo Lai couldn't help herself from grinning while watching Lan Zhu stare at Yifeng admiringly. Luo Lai suddenly got an idea. She wanted to do something nice. Luo Lai asked Yifeng to come with her, telling him that she had a way to help him publish his book. The invitation was so sudden, so Yifeng asked Luo Lin to confirm if she could really publish his books. Luo Lai confirmed that she could. She informed Yifeng that her father was the chairman of the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, so publishing a book was just a matter of minutes. Lan Zhu thought that Luo Lai made a great move. She was under the impression that Yifeng was so out of the ordinary and so far into the world that he had always been reluctant to reveal his identity, which was why he encountered such confusion. Out of nowhere, Luo Lai said that she had one small condition. She told Yifeng that she would publish a book for him if he kissed Lan Zhu. Yifeng and Lan Zhu blushed. They were caught off guard by Luo Lai's sudden condition. They were so confused that they didn't know what to say. Luo Lai asked Yifeng what he thought about her condition. Yifeng admitted that it was the first time he had heard of that kind of request. Yifeng had zero experience. He had never been in love and had always been single. Yifeng thought to himself that he had been single for many years, but finally had a chance to get in touch with Lan Zhu. On that day, Yifeng vowed that he would say goodbye to his first kiss and welcome the bright moments of life. He told Lu Lai that since she had proposed, he would sacrifice his first kiss for her, saying that the color is emptiness, and emptiness is color. Lan Zhu quickly moved away from Yifeng, thinking that the phrase color is emptiness and emptiness is color was the supreme state. Lan Zhu suddenly understood something. There were 3,000 worlds, each had its own way of cultivation. Rumor had it that there was a double cultivation method. Mutual contact of skin, the yin and yang were connected, and the breathing between the two helped each other, which could double enhance the realm. Lan Zhu thought that Yifeng's heart was full of love, and because she was weak, he shed tears out of pity. Lan Zhu believed that Yifeng was willing to use that method to help her improve, so she hated herself for thinking some nonsense. Lan Zhu immediately told Yifeng that Luo Lai was reckless and didn't know what was good or bad, hence, she had made such an excessive request. She then asked for Yifeng's forgiveness, saying that it was their honor to help a man of great wisdom like Yifeng, and that they dared not have any ulterior motives. Luo Lai was confused. She could clearly see that Yifeng was willing to do it, so she couldn't understand why Lan Zhu was saying those things. Yifeng initially told Lan Zhu that he wasn't against it, but he quickly changed his words. To make it sound more honorable, he told Lan Zhu that it wasn't too much for him to do. Lan Zhu said that there was no need for Yifeng to say more, saying that she knew that she was unworthy. She then told Yifeng that they should already go to the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce so they could discuss the book publishing. Yifeng tried to convince himself that it was okay, that it was all right, and that it didn't matter. He became certain that there was no such thing as a good thing in the world. Later that day, in the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, Luo Lai's father greeted the group of three and asked Luo Lai to introduce him to her friend that he had heard about. Luo Lai's father, Yingxing, who was the chairman of Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, was immortal. Luo Lai ran towards her father with her arms spread out. Yingxing told Luo Lai that she had grown up, so it would be better if she learned to control herself. Luo Lai asked Yingxing if it was because he felt bad about his floor tiles again. Yingxing explained that the floor tiles had just been changed. He asked Luo Lai to quickly get up so the guests wouldn't laugh at them. Moments later, inside the hall, while Luo Lai was offering Yifeng her favorite dish, Dragon Beard Crisp, Yingxing covertly shared with Lan Zhu that he thought Yifeng had an extraordinary temperament. He then asked her who Yifeng was. Lan Zhu told Yingxing that she couldn't reveal too much about Yifeng's identity, but reminded him that even her respected master had to call Yifeng Mr. Yi. Yingxing was astounded. He hadn't expected that Luo Lai would bring him such a great Buddha, a person respected by the sect leader of Qingshan. Yingxing quickly asked Yifeng if the refreshment had satisfied his appetite. Yifeng said that it was very delicious. He then thanked Yingxing for his hospitality. Yingxing respectfully told Yifeng that Luo Lai was fortunate enough to meet him and that it was the blessing of their Yin family. Yingxing told Yifeng not to worry after saying that he knew why Yifeng had come. Yingxing informed his butler that starting that day, Beifeng Chamber of Commerce would do its best to help Yifeng publish his books, whether it was through typesetting or printing. He then told his butler that he would be the one to take responsibility if there were any errors. The butler reminded Yingxing that their Chamber of Commerce focused on jewelry, gold, and silver, and supplies for cultivators. He then said that they were at a critical moment for the classification of the first-tier Chamber of Commerce, so if they were distracted by publishing a book, the market would be easily invaded by the Pingyang Chamber of Commerce. Yingxing asked the butler where he had gotten the courage to teach him how to do things, seeing that it might cause problems for the original business of their Chamber of Commerce. Yifeng told Yingxing that it was unnecessary for him to help him. Yingxing assured Yifeng that he didn't have to worry too much, telling him that their Chamber of Commerce was already preparing to open up a cultural market, and that it just so happened that he brought the book. He then said that it was a great opportunity, and he was very happy to ask for it. Liu Olai was skeptical. It sounded like an ad hoc decision to her. After hearing Yingxing's words, Yifeng stopped thinking twice. He simply accepted the offer and thanked Yingxing. A few days later, under the full operation of the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, a book called The Supreme Treasure and Zixia Fairy was born in Jiangping. The love, hatred, and enmity of the two protagonists in the book aroused the resonance of countless people, and the first edition of the book was quickly swept away. As a result, a book-chasing craze emerged in the city and even spread outside the city. Lan Zhu uttered the words "I love you" for 10,000 years. She believed that in their world, only Yifeng could write those kinds of books. Out of nowhere, Zhu Yun appeared. She asked Lan Zhu what had happened in their sect while she was in retreat. She noticed that everyone in their sect was just slacking around, and there were only a few disciples on the martial arts field. Lan Zhu told Zhu Yun that it was probably related to Yifeng's book. She then said that, looking at the entire Jiangping, almost everyone had that book. People were utterly intoxicated, so they didn't have the mind to practice. Zhu Yun's eyes widened after hearing that it was Yifeng's book. She took the book from Lan Zhu and then said that she would be in retreat for 2 days. Zhu Yun left their sect's affairs in Lan Zhu's care. Lan Zhu was left bewildered. Zhu Yun had just come out of retreat, yet she was already going on another retreat. Meanwhile, on the plaza in Jiangping, people were gathering. The popularity of the book had an unprecedented and bizarre phenomenon in Jiangping City. A woman expressed her wonder about when her hero would step on the colorful auspicious clouds to marry her. A man from the audience commented, saying that if the day he met his true love came, he would say those 3 words to her. A man then told the woman that if there was a deadline for their love, he hoped that it would be 10,000 years. The men behind the woman watched the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. They thought that it would be their turn. Yu Wuji, a spy who was a Qingshan sect disciple at the martial master realm, sneaked out of the farce that was happening behind him. Yu Wuji was laughed at by his companion. He said that he had never seen a mortal jump like Yu Wuji did. Yu Wuji expressed his contempt, saying that the mortals of Jiangping City were a bunch of comfortable salted fish. They had searched for so long but hadn't found any clue regarding Jing Wuchen. Yu Wuji's companion suggested that Yu Wuji should come back to reality, telling him that it would be a waste of time to wait any longer. Yu Wuji told his companion that he was afraid that the old man had another move in store for them. At the same time, in the Pingyang Chamber of Commerce, it was known that there could only be one first-level Chamber of Commerce in a city, and they were at the right time for the Chamber of Commerce to be ranked. Thanks to the books, the revenue of Beifeng Chamber of Commerce was 20% higher than Pingyang Chamber of Commerce. Not to mention, the reputation of Beifeng had also risen. The man seated across from Mao Lin said that if they didn't find a way to suppress it, the title of the first-class Chamber of Commerce would fall to someone else. Mao Lin realized that, in a moment of carelessness, he had missed a good opportunity and had been picked up by Beifeng Chamber of Commerce. He thought that Yixing should be laughing at him because of it. The man then said that he had heard that the author of the book had come to Mao Lin at the beginning to discuss cooperation in publishing the book but was sent away. The man then pointed out to Mao Lin that his decision had made the entire Chamber of Commerce pay for it. The man was about to say that if they lost the selection of the first-level Chamber of Commerce, Mao Lin might lose his position as the chairman. But before he could finish, Mao Lin declared that he was the chairman of the Pingyang Chamber of Commerce and he had his own ways to solve things. Mao Lin ordered his servants to prepare a gift and follow him to visit Yifeng. Simultaneously, in the martial arts gym kitchen, Zhang King reminded Yifeng that he had said they would be able to eat meat if the book was sold. Yifeng told Zhang King that it was the reason why he was trying to make tofu taste like meat. Since the book had been published, Yifeng expected that there would be some money. He believed that the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce wouldn't be more stingy than the Pingyang Chamber of Commerce. Yifeng was getting anxious, wondering if he had just been hasty. Suddenly, a man outside the gym announced that on behalf of the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, he, the butler of the Yin family, had come to see Yifeng. Yifeng seemed to have triggered the law of attraction. He told Zhang King to remember that cooking was all about ideas and not just ingredients. Yifeng said to the butler of the Yin family that he had come just in time, saying that he was just about to cook. Yifeng wondered where the money was. He was thinking that if the butler didn't have a money box, he should at least have a money plate, a money bag, or a money string. The butler was alarmed. He thought that Yifeng was blaming him for being too late. He immediately asked for Yifeng's forgiveness and gave him the exclusive deposit card prepared by the Chamber of Commerce. He informed Yifeng that inside the card were 100,000 gold coins from the previous month's book sales. Yifeng froze upon knowing that there were 100,000 gold coins inside the card. He couldn't believe that a huge sum of money had actually been given to him. He got excited thinking that every month from that day on, the Chamber of Commerce would deposit the monthly book sales into his card on time. Because of Yifeng's subtle expression, the butler couldn't help but wonder if the money they gave was too little. The butler immediately excused himself, saying that he wouldn't bother Yifeng any longer. He thought to himself that he should hurry back and report Yifeng's attitude to Yingxing. Yifeng didn't prevent the butler from leaving. He just told him to take care and to visit and play sometime. Yifeng couldn't keep himself from grinning. He kissed Zhang King and the demon wolf on the cheek. He received 100,000 gold coins as his income for 1 month. Yifeng was touched because he finally experienced the happiness of rich people. Yifeng invited his friends to dance with him on that joyous day and asked the light man to put the word Richmond on the big screen for him. Witnessing Yifeng's actions, Mao Lin felt awkward. Yifeng's eyes bulged when he realized that Mao Lin was actually in front of him. He asked Mao Lin why he had come to visit. Mao Lin apologized to Yifeng for coming without notifying him and for what had happened the last time they had a meeting. He then offered Yifeng 1,000 gold coins. Mao Lin was confident that Yifeng wouldn't refuse since 1,000 gold coins were already a year's income for an ordinary person. Yifeng asked Mao Lin to speak directly. Knowing that Mao Lin could not be trusted, Yifeng was sure that he was planning something. Mao Lin told Yifeng that they were in the era of cultural renaissance, saying that although the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce had a big business, it couldn't just rest on its laurels. He claimed that they would follow the trend and seek new development. Mao Lin told Yifeng that he was planning to continue his cooperation with him. He promised Yifeng that their Chamber of Commerce would do anything in its power to help him publish the books. Yifeng reminded Mao Lin that he had personally told him that there was no benefit in publishing the book. He then said that he thought that Mao Lin still focused on the interests of the Chamber of Commerce. Mao Lin said that he believed that Yifeng was not stingy. He admitted that he had said something wrong that day, but he said that Yifeng shouldn't have taken it seriously. Yifeng clarified that he had taken Mao Lin's words to heart and that he was a stingy person. Mao Lin was annoyed. He told Yifeng that it would be better for him to speak a little more affectionately. Mao Lin thought that without their cooperation, Yifeng's book would only fetch a small price. Yifeng asked Mao Lin to leave if he didn't have much to say, telling him that he wouldn't accompany him any longer. Mao Lin quickly explained himself, saying that he wasn't very good at talking and that he didn't mean to offend Yifeng. He asked Yifeng how much it would cost for him to cooperate with them. Yifeng advised Mao Lin to stop forcing someone in the middle of the day, telling him that it wasn't good for his status. Mao Lin offered Yifeng 10,000 gold coins. He thought that it was the money Yifeng couldn't earn in 10 years. Mao Lin then told Yifeng that his appetite might have been a little too big if he still wouldn't accept it. Yifeng laughed at the 10,000 gold coins that Mao Lin had offered. He revealed the top-level deposit card and asked Mao Lin if 10,000 gold coins were really a large amount of money. Mao Lin's eyes bulged. He hadn't expected that Yifeng would belittle 10,000 gold coins. He then realized that the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce had actually given Yifeng a top-level deposit card which had a minimum deposit of 100,000 gold. Yifeng nonchalantly instructed Zhang King and the demon wolf to see the guests off. Inside the martial arts gym, Yifeng continued to celebrate his success in earning a lot of money. At the same time, in Xuanwu sect, Ling Yar informed Ning Xuanwu that the people who had gone to Jiangping City to look for some information had reported that there was no trace of Jing Wuchen in Jiangping City. She told Ning Xuanwu that there was definitely something wrong. Ning Xuanwu looked for Jing Wufeng. Ling Yar was startled when Jing Wufeng suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Ning Xuanwu ordered Jing Wufeng to go down the mountain to have a look. He wanted Jing Wufeng to find Jing Wuchen and bring him back to report. Ling Yar asked Ning Xuanwu to confirm if he was sure that nothing would go wrong. Ning Xuanwu told Ling Yar that with the cloak of swiftness on Jing Wufeng's body, there was no rival for him in terms of speed. He was confident that no one could hurt Jing Wufeng, saying that even if someone could detect his movements, they wouldn't be able to see Jing Wufeng's real body. Meanwhile, in Yifeng's martial arts gym, Yifeng asked the demon wolf, Wang Kai, to take good care of their house. He promised Wang Kai that he would bring him bones when he came back from the celebration party. Wang Kai couldn't believe that Yifeng was really treating him like a dog. He was a heaven-devouring demon wolf. He thought that if it hadn't been for his injuries, he wouldn't have been trapped there. Wang Kai was worried that Yifeng might suddenly want to stew a dog hot pot. Yifeng praised Wang Kai and told him that he loved him. Wang Kai obediently played dead in response to Yifeng's hand gesture. Wang Kai's urge to escape grew. Although he had followed Yifeng for so long, he still couldn't imagine how powerful Yifeng really was. Yifeng could easily draw divine weapon paintings that had such a monstrous martial intent. Wang Kai thought that it was clear that, with those paintings, there were few people in their world who could actually harm Yifeng's place. Yet he was left behind to guard it. Suddenly, he felt a very powerful pressure. Jing Wufeng was halted in his tracks by an old man who was slowly pushing his cart while selling candies. He grew impatient as he waited for the old man to cross the street. When Jing Wufeng could no longer control his anger, he harmed the old man. He broke the candies and called the old man an insolent mortal. Yifeng's martial arts gym was the only martial arts gym left in the city. After feeling the last vestiges of Jing Wuchen in the gym, Jing Wufeng wondered if Jing Wuchen had died. He was certain that the person they were looking for was there. Jing Wufeng then decided to destroy the place and kill that person. Wang Kai ran for his life as Jing Wufeng declared that he was going to kill everyone in that place, threatening that no one would be left alive. Wang Kai was sure that, in his state, he wouldn't be able to beat Jing Wufeng. The divine weapon painting suddenly released a golden light. The figures drawn in the painting came to life and extended their hands towards Jing Wufeng. Jing Wufeng's eyes widened in shock. He screamed in pain as he was bathed in golden light. Jing Wufeng didn't have a chance to fight back. He didn't even know what was eating away at his flesh. It didn't take long before Jing Wufeng completely disappeared, leaving nothing but some bones and pieces of the cloak of swiftness. Wang Kai stared at the floating figures, seemingly having a hard time believing what he just saw. He then ground his teeth to try and hold back his emotions, but he was so scared that he couldn't keep himself from crying. Wang Kai thought that he finally understood. He found out that Yifeng's martial arts and cultivation had reached the realm of the martial god and were simply beyond his prying eyes. Wang Kai was under the impression that Yifeng had protected him in every moment of crisis. He thought that Yifeng had left him there to nurture his wounds with martial intent, and used all kinds of humiliation to refine his mind. Wang Kai decided to try to be a good dog and forget about the remorse in his heart. He thought to himself that if he couldn't handle being a dog, he could never become a king. Wang Kai believed that it was Yifeng's intention. He thought that watching the door for Yifeng was the greatest opportunity of his dog's life. Wang Kai had been completely dogged. Simultaneously, in the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, one of the business owners of the Chamber of Commerce said that it was time for the Chamber of Commerce to be ranked. He pointed out that Yifeng had been a blessing to them, not to mention the profits, the influence, and reputation that Yifeng brought to them, which could give their Chamber of Commerce a lot of points. He then said that they must not offend Yifeng. He thought that if Yifeng was with them, the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce would never be their opponent. Yingxing agreed with what the man said. He informed everyone that the last time the butler came back, he reported that Yifeng seemed reluctant to take a share of 100,000 gold coins. Yingxing said that he was willing to give Yifeng an increase in his share, so as not to make any big mistake. The fat man beside Lan Zhu suggested that, in addition to the cost, their Chamber of Commerce would take only 10%, and all other shares should be given to Yifeng. Lan Zhu nodded in response to Yingxing's curious gaze. After receiving Lan Zhu's confirmation, Yingxing immediately agreed to the fat man's suggestion. Lan Zhu had actually been instructed by his master to maintain a good relationship with Yifeng. She thought that their decision couldn't have been any better. Meanwhile, after searching for quite some time, Yu Wuji still couldn't find a trace of Jing Wuchen, and he knew that the person who was looking for the martial arts gym had not returned yet. Yu Wuji thought that Ning Xuanwu would be angry with him if that matter were not concluded. After some calculations, the shop owner informed Yu Wuji that the total price he should pay was 103 taels. But he said that Yu Wuji could just pay exactly 100 taels. He then asked Yu Wuji if he would be paying in cash or in checks. The abacus was thrown away as Yu Wuji lifted the shop owner. He threatened to cut the shop owner's hand just because the shop owner, who was a mortal, had charged him a high price. The shop owner quickly asked for Yu Wuji's forgiveness, saying that he would settle the account again for him. Suddenly, Yu Wuji heard someone. Peng Ying told Yifeng that it should already have been clear to him that it was best if they didn't see each other again. Yifeng, who was on his way to the banquet of the Chamber of Commerce, informed Peng Ying that he was just passing by. He then told her that he wouldn't have seen her if she hadn't stopped him. Peng Ying was annoyed with how Yifeng responded. Yu Wuji asked Peng Ying why she still couldn't get rid of her old dirty relationships despite being with him for so long. Peng Ying told Yu Wuji that she could never look at a lowly, poor, and ant-like mortal like Yifeng, saying that she would rather die than have anything to do with him. Yu Wuji quickly used his martial arts skill. He told Peng Ying that there was no need for her to explain since he would just kill Yifeng directly. Lan Zhu suddenly appeared beside Yifeng, who was shocked and couldn't react immediately. She immediately told Yifeng that he didn't have to act. Lan Zhu was afraid that if Yifeng did it himself, the entire Qingshan sect would cease to exist. As he was overpowered by Lan Zhu's palm, Yu Wuji wondered why she was there. Trying to gain some sympathy, Yu Wuji screamed, complaining that it hurt. He was glad that Lan Zhu had stopped attacking him, but when he looked up, his eyes bulged at the sight of a giant woman. Yu Wuji stared at Luo Lai aghast, unable to speak. Luo Lai smacked down Yu Wuji, smashing his head on the floor. Peng Ying checked Yu Wuji's condition with a distressed look on her face. She tried calling him, but Yu Wuji didn't respond. Luo Lai and Lan Zhu apologized to Yifeng for startling him. Yifeng told the two that he was fortunate that they had arrived in time and saved him from a disaster. Peng Ying and Yu Wuji were unable to comprehend what was happening in front of their eyes. Peng Ying couldn't understand why the personal disciple of the master of Qingshan sect was so respectful to a mortal like Yifeng, and even fought for him. While Lan Zhu was asking for Peng Ying's name, the butler hoped that Yifeng would bear with him until Yingxin could give Yifeng a satisfactory answer. Lan Zhu used a spell to forcefully find out who Peng Ying was. Peng Ying told Lan Zhu that she was disciple Peng Ying of the outer sect Xuan Hall, which was under the management of Elder Fang of the outer sect, and that she had just joined the Qingshan sect 1 month ago. Lan Zhu exclaimed. She wondered who was bold enough to allow Peng Ying to join the Qingshan sect without authorization. Lan Zhu then told Peng Ying that her qualifications were simply not enough to enter the Qingshan sect. She declared that on that day, Peng Ying had been expelled from the Qingshan sect. Peng Ying asked Lan Zhu why she had been expelled because of Yifeng, who was just a mortal. Lan Zhu mercilessly slapped Peng Ying. She then warned her that if she dared to provoke Yifeng again, especially in the name of the Qingshan sect, she would erase her existence from their world. In order to join the Qingshan sect, Peng Ying had paid countless amounts, but she had lost everything because of Yifeng, a man who had been abandoned by her. She couldn't accept it. She was determined to find out what had happened. In the Xuanwu sect, Ning Xuanwu and Ling Yar meditated. Ning Xuanwu told Ling Yar that meditation was the foundation of the realm of enlightenment. After hearing that Ling Yar's breath had been disturbed, he asked her if there had been something on her mind. Ling Yar reminded Ning Xuanwu that they had sent Jing Wuchen and Jing Wufeng to investigate since they had always suspected that the expert in Jiangping City was a blindfold put out by the Qingshan sect. She then said that she thought it had been a careless move. Ling Yar pointed out to Ning Xuanwu that the magic weapon Lu Qingshan had suddenly revealed had indeed been extraordinary, and that if it had really been an expert who helped Lu Qingshan, with Jing Wuchen and Jing Wufeng's indispensable temperament, they would have definitely rushed to the door to kill the person. Ning Xuanwu realized that what Ling Yar had been trying to say was that Jing Wuchen and Jing Wufeng could never have been the opponents of whoever had created the divine weapon. Ling Yar requested Ning Xuanwu to let her personally go down the mountain to find out. Ning Xuanwu agreed to Ling Yar's request, reminding her to be careful. The next day, Ling Yar disguised herself and went to a restaurant. The moment she was called, the waiter immediately asked Ling Yar how he could help her. Ling Yar pulled the waiter closer. She informed the waiter that she had heard that he knew everything about Jiangping City. Ling Yar then asked him if he knew the person who wrote books and also ran a martial arts gym. The waiter told Ling Yar that the information she wanted was not easy to find and was not given for free. But he quickly changed his attitude the moment Ling Yar pierced the table with a dagger. After revealing that the person's name was Yifeng, the waiter asked Ling Yar if she would like him to show her the way. Meanwhile, Yifeng walked towards his martial arts gym while singing merrily. As soon as he saw Wang Kai, he immediately told him to take a look at what he had brought for him. Yifeng opened the food he had wrapped and told Wang Kai to enjoy eating it. But when he was about to pat Wang Kai's head, Wang Kai suddenly ran away. Wang Kai barked as if he were saying that he wanted to show Yifeng something. Wang Kai came back to Yifeng, bringing Jing Wufeng's bone with him. Yifeng stared at the bone, wondering if what he had been thinking was right. He thought that the reason Wang Kai didn't eat the food he brought was because he had stolen some meat from someone else's house and already had enough. Yifeng audibly asked himself if Wang Kai had left a bone for him to see so he could praise him. What Yifeng said made Wang Kai think that Yifeng knew what had happened. He thought that Yifeng wanted him to see the scene of Jing Wufeng dying to let him know what would happen if he didn't obey. Zhang King asked Yifeng what the torn cloak of swiftness was. Yifeng took a closer look at the cloak of swiftness. He then confidently said that it was a rag. Yifeng told Zhang King that their house had not been cleaned for a long time, so he had decided to use the torn cloak of swiftness to wipe the dust. He reminded Zhang King not to miss the pillars and plaques outside their door. Yifeng thought to himself that Wang Kai bringing some garbage into their house was better than him destroying some things in their house. Wang Kai became emotional, thinking that he had finally realized Yifeng's true intention. Yifeng picked up the bone. He didn't want to just throw it away, so he used it as a toy. He tossed the bone, wanting to play fetch with Wang Kai. Unexpectedly, a hand caught the bone at the same time Wang Kai did. Seeing that Ling Yar was trying her best to take the bone away from Wang Kai, Yifeng couldn't help but wonder what was wrong with her. Ling Yar ground her teeth. As if she had been overpowered by Wang Kai, Ling Yar vomited blood and let go of the bone. Yifeng was confused as to what had just happened. He immediately checked if Ling Yar was alright. Yifeng invited Ling Yar to come inside his house and sit down, saying that it just so happened that they had some ready-made herbs inside. He told her that although he was not a very good doctor, he still knew a little about medicine, and that he could help her check her pulse if she didn't mind. Ling Yar declined Yifeng's offer, saying that she was fine and wouldn't bother Yifeng. Yifeng expressed that he had figured something out. He said that seeing how Ling Yar had tried her best to pull the bone from Wang Kai, he could tell that the bone belonged to her family. Yifeng then thought to himself that Ling Yar must have vomited blood because she had seen that there was only one left. Ling Yar knew that the bone was Jing Wufeng's, so she thought that Yifeng had seen right through her. She was so frightened that she couldn't help but think that Yifeng was a devil. Since a bone was the only thing that was left, Yifeng offered to pay Ling Yar for what he thought was meat. He asked her if the market price was enough for her. Seeing that Ling Yar kept on running, Yifeng thought that she hadn't heard him. He screamed at Ling Yar, telling her that if something bad had been done, a price should be paid, so he would record that account for her. Yifeng told Zhang King that Ling Yar seemed fine since she had been able to run well enough. Wang Kai couldn't believe that with a single glance, Yifeng had been able to see through the disguised Ling Yar, instantly causing her ki and blood to attack her heart. He came to the conclusion that Yifeng had a deep mind and a high level of cultivation, which Wang Kai thought was really impenetrable. Later that day, in Xuanwu sect, Ling Yar told Ning Xuanwu that there was indeed an expert in Jiangping City, and that both brothers had been killed by the person. Out of anger, Ning Xuanwu slapped the armrest of his chair. He ordered Ling Yar to tell them everything she had found out, word by word, and in detail. Ling Yar informed Ning Xuanwu that Jing Wuchen had no bones left and then said that Jing Wufeng's bone, which had been left because of the cultivation of the divine power of the clan, was being used by the expert as a pet toy. Outraged, Ning Xuanwu wasn't able to control himself and smashed the pillar near him. Ning Xuanwu thought that it was a tactic to scare him and make the world laugh at him. The only people who could succeed the Xuanwu sect were Ling Yar, Jing Wufeng, and Jing Wuchen. Thinking that Yifeng was about to end the Xuanwu clan's future, Ning Xuanwu couldn't help but feel that the expert was going too far. He felt disgraced. Ning Xuanwu asked Ling Yar what had happened to his treasures. After pleading with him to control his anger, Ling Yar informed Ning Xuanwu that his heaven-devouring stone had been used by Yifeng to fill the steps, and that the cloak of swiftness had been used as a rag to wipe the dust. Ning Xuanwu released his aura, causing the hall to start shaking. The alarmed elders immediately asked Ning Xuanwu to calm down. A loud laugh echoed inside the hall as Ning Xuanwu laughed frantically. He was convinced that the expert was even more ruthless than him. Ning Xuanwu then told Ling Yar to tell him more about Yifeng. Ling Yar didn't think twice. She quickly said to Ning Xuanwu that the expert was very clever. She said that even though she had been very careful and disguised, the expert still recognized her. She informed Ning Xuanwu that the expert hadn't killed her because he had asked her to deliver the message that if something bad was done, a price should be paid, and that he had written down that account. Ning Xuanwu's eyes emitted a dangerous light. He decided not to sit back and wait for the expert to kill all of them. Ning Xuanwu ordered that all the masters of the Xuanwu sect should go down the mountain with him. He then declared that he would personally slaughter the expert to avenge Wufeng and Wuchen, and to bring back the two greatest treasures of the Xuanwu sect, to wipe out the shame of the past. The next day, in Jiangping City, disciples and elders of the Xuanwu sect gathered. Ling Yar presented Ning Xuanwu with her dead soldier, Jiang San. Jiang San immediately promised that he would obey all the commands of Ning Xuanwu. Ning Xuanwu ordered Jiang San to go to the martial arts gym to find out what was inside and who the master of the martial arts gym was. Ling Yar informed Jiang San that even she couldn't see through the strength of the expert. She warned Jiang San that the expert was not as simple as it seemed and that he could catch him even with a single breath. Ling Yar reminded Jiang San not to show any hostility, telling him that the expert was very cunning and that the martial arts gym was full of murderous intent. She pointed out to him that he would suffer the same fate as Wu Feng and Wu Chen if he didn't pay heed to her warnings. Jiang San quickly acknowledged Ling Yar's words. Suddenly, Ning Xuanwu felt that he had overlooked something. He realized that the terrifying knife in Lu Qingshan's hand may also have been made by the expert. Ning Xuanwu thought of the possibility that the expert's true strength must be beyond that of a realm of a martial king. He was afraid that the expert might have extraordinary power and would be angry if someone provoked him. Ning Xuanwu assured Jiang San that if he couldn't come back, his family would be supported by the Xuanwu sect. He then threatened him that if he dared to run away, he would send him and his family to hell for a reunion. Ling Yar thought to herself that Ning Xuanwu seemed to have finally realized how terrifying their opponent really was. Jiang San asked Ning Xuanwu what the reward would be if he somehow made it back alive. Ning Xuanwu promised that if Jiang San could make it back, he would directly promote him to become a direct disciple, and he would have the permission to choose any one of all the elders in the sect to be his master. Later that day, in Yifeng's martial arts gym, Yifeng sat comfortably on an inclined chair, saying that it was good to be alive if there was nothing to worry about. At the same time, Wang Kai slept on the floor, mumbling that he had been enlightened. Seeing that Zhang King was merrily cleaning the house, Yifeng couldn't help but appreciate his obedience. He then said that the weather had been quite damp the other day, so the 18 paintings in the front hall should be taken down and let them dry in the sun. He pointed out that they should just dry the paintings in the yard since it wouldn't be good if they got blown away by the wind. Yifeng thought that although the paintings looked useless and were not worth a lot of money, they were still good to use as ornaments to decorate his martial gym. Suddenly, someone outside the martial arts gym came calling for their attention. Zhang King wanted to go and entertain the person so Yifeng could continue his rest, but Yifeng told him that their martial arts gym had been out of business for a while, so he would go check it out himself. He then told Zhang King that he should get some rest since he had already done so much work. Meanwhile, outside, while he was observing the martial arts gym, Jiang San thought to himself that Yifeng's martial arts gym looked no different from an ordinary martial arts gym. He even thought that it was not as good as any other martial arts gym. As soon as Jiang San entered the gym, Yifeng immediately said that he could see from Jiang San's eyes that he was a martial arts genius. He then said that it just so happened that their martial arts gym was offering a discount on registration. Jiang San didn't respond right away, so Yifeng thought that he had convinced him. But instead of enrolling, Jiang San asked Yifeng how he could get to the Xuanwu sect. He was so nervous that he accidentally blurted it out. Jiang San panicked. He remembered that Yifeng and the Xuanwu sect were already at odds. At that point, he was certain that he would suffer the same fate as the Jing brothers. The moment Yifeng started talking, a sweat dropped from Jiang San's chin. His soul came out of his mouth, thinking that his life was already over. But to his surprise, Yifeng really did tell him how he could get to the Xuanwu sect. Yifeng sighed. He couldn't believe that Jiang San had just come there to ask for directions. Jiang San was confused. He wondered if Yifeng just wanted to kill him slowly or was just not interested in killing him. Knowing that even such a waste was looking down on his martial arts gym, Yifeng couldn't help but think that his business was a failure. Looking into Yifeng's eyes, Jiang San started to think that Yifeng was just a mortal, so he stopped believing the speculations of Ling Yar and Ning Xuanwu. To test if he was right, Jiang San told Yifeng that seeing that it was quite deserted there, he could tell that he didn't have many apprentices. He thought that with that kind of sarcasm, Yifeng would definitely show some behavior if he was really a master. Jiang San thought that that was not so much of a direct hit, so he was certain that if there was no response, it would mean that Yifeng was really not an expert. Yifeng just stared at Jiang San and did not respond. Jiang San then told Yifeng that it would be better for him to change his martial arts gym into a restaurant, saying that it would be a little more popular than his martial arts gym. Yifeng still didn't respond and just pointed in a certain direction. Jiang San became certain that Yifeng really was just a mortal. He immediately turned around and ran away. Jiang San was able to confirm that Yifeng and his martial arts gym were just normal and had no hidden murderous intent. He was excited to be promoted and become the direct disciple. Jiang San thought that Yifeng was pathetic for being so stupid at such a young age. Suddenly, Wu Yonghong landed outside the martial arts gym, along with 3 other old men. Martial ancestor Chu Shiquang, martial ancestor Sun Juge, and martial ancestor Lai Mo Zai came with Wu Yonghong. Wu Yonghong immediately greeted Yifeng, saying that he had come to pay him respects with his friends. When Wu Yonghong asked Yifeng if they had disturbed him, Yifeng told Wu Yonghong that he didn't have to be polite and instructed them to follow him inside first. Yifeng thought to himself that he had expected the people who had raked the fields together with Wu Yonghong to look very unique. Chu Shiquang suddenly held Wu Yonghong's shoulder and asked him how Yifeng, who was a mortal with no cultivation, could be worthy of inviting ancestral martial arts masters like them inside. Lai Mozai also asked Wu Yonghong where the signboard containing pure martial intent was. Wu Yonghong warned his ancestral martial brothers to be careful with what they said. He told them that he had already shown them his holy rake and that he had been kind enough to bring them there to pay a visit, yet they were creating a fuss. Wu Yonghong asked them to leave and not cause trouble if they didn't believe him. Sun Juge told the three that they shouldn't argue like children since they were already more than 1,000 years old. He then asked them to confirm if the stone on the ground was the heaven-shattering stone. The heaven-shattering stone was at least a treasure of the imperial grade, something that they, the ancestral masters, had to keep carefully. To actually use it to mend the stone steps, Lai Mozai couldn't help but think that Yifeng was a terrifying man. He was convinced that his trip there was not a loss. As soon as they stepped inside, they immediately noticed the cloak of swiftness that was being dried. Not daring to raise his voice, Wu Yonghong whispered to Lai Mozai that the cloak was also a treasure of imperial grade. He then said that with all those holy relics, Yifeng could easily buy mountains and establish a sect. Chu Shiquang couldn't keep himself from asking Yifeng where he had found such good stuff. Yifeng simply told him that it was just a rag, stating that it looked a bit shabby, so he used it to clean the martial arts gym. The four old men suddenly looked dignified. At the same instant, they greeted Yifeng. They told him that they hoped he wasn't offended by their surprise visit. Yifeng quickly asked them to get up, telling them that they were from the same city, so there was no need to be polite. The four old men thought to themselves that Yifeng must be a martial saint since imperial-grade treasures meant nothing to him. Meanwhile, Zhang King had been about to finish putting up the last painting. A powerful golden aura suddenly exploded from the other paintings as soon as the last one was put up. The four old men were shocked, their mouths agape as they stared at the aura that rushed past their faces. Seemingly moved by the aura, they were able to imagine that they were in outer space, drifting along with an astronaut, a dinosaur, and some golden figures. Chu Shiquang even imagined himself lazily reaching out to a golden figure. Yifeng wondered why the four old men were so excited. He then speculated that maybe, due to their ugly appearance, they had been rejected too many times before. Yifeng invited the four old men to sit in the front hall, saying that his martial arts gym had been cleaned and was a bit messy inside. When they got to the front hall, Yifeng asked them to help themselves while waiting. He left the old men to get the chess pieces and to ask Zhang King to boil water and make tea. As soon as they were sure that Yifeng had already left, Chu Shiquang and Lai Mozai expressed their shock. Chu Shiquang had never seen such powerful martial intent before, and Lai Mozai felt that the realm in which he had been stuck for hundreds of years had been loosened, accompanied by the power of heaven. Wu Yonghong shared with everyone that Yifeng must have been an immortal warlord. He then said that he was surprised to have contact with a person who was at that cultivation level. Sun Juge supported Wu Yonghong's theory, saying that the reason they couldn't see through Yifeng's cultivation was because he was an immortal from the upper world. The four old men left Yifeng's martial arts gym. The martial intent had been too strong for them. They felt that they would go crazy because of it. The people passing by Yifeng's martial arts gym couldn't help but stare at the four old men, wondering if those old and scary hags were there to be Yifeng's apprentices. When Chu Shiquang said that it was a pity, Wu Yonghong warned him not to be greedy, telling him that just being there was already a great opportunity. Moments later, Yifeng came out of the house. He asked the four old men what they had been doing outside the door. Chu Shiquang told Yifeng that they had come in a hurry, leaving their feet still covered in mud, so they decided to stay outside. The other three quickly agreed with what Chu Shiquang had said. Yifeng didn't force the old men, thinking that he should just let them be since they were all honest people who made a living by farming. Yifeng said he was going to prepare lunch. He then instructed Zhang King to put up the signboard and to take care of the elders if they needed anything. The moment Zhang King was done putting up the signboard, the elders looked up and just stared at it. The elders became emotional. They were under the impression that Yifeng's words had their own profound meaning. They believed that Yifeng knew that they wouldn't be able to comprehend the martial intent of the front hall, so he had ordered his disciple to hang up a signboard with a softer martial intent sign. They were in awe of Yifeng's great kindness. The passers-by stared at the elders, mouths agape. They wanted to tell them that crying made them even uglier. At the same time, in Xuanwu sect, a messenger reported to Ning Xuanwu that the dead soldier that he had sent out was back. Ning Xuanwu felt great. He hadn't expected that Jiang Sen could come back. As soon as he arrived, Jiang Sen quickly said that he was honored to report to Ning Xuanwu and the elders that the person in the martial arts gym did not have extraordinary powers. He confirmed that the person was just an ordinary mortal. While he was releasing his aura, Ning Xuanwu asked Jiang Sen if he wasn't lying. In the presence of heaven and earth, Jiang Sen swore on his life that he wasn't lying. He informed Ning Xuanwu that there was nothing unusual in the martial arts gym and that Yifeng, no matter how he provoked him, reacted no differently than a mortal. Jiang Sen then said that there would be no point in Yifeng pretending to be a mortal if you were really a martial master. The news Jiang Sen brought shocked Ning Xuanwu. Jiang Sen told Ning Xuanwu that he suspected that Jing Wuchen and Jing Wufeng were not dead yet, saying that there must be some misunderstanding about it. Before he could even meet Yifeng face to face, Ning Xuanwu was already annoyed by him. Ning Xuanwu expressed his contempt, thinking that Yifeng wanted to make people see and think that he was afraid of him. Jiang Sen told Ning Xuanwu that he should make Yifeng beg for death in order to set an example. Ling Yar wanted to go down to confirm Jiang Sen's information, but Ning Xuanwu just told her that she didn't have to, saying that since Jing Wufeng and Jing Wuchen might not be dead, they must be within the martial arts gym. Ning Xuanwu wanted to see for himself what was inside the martial arts gym. And if the martial arts gym could really kill people, he wanted to see if it could kill him. The Xuanwu sect disciples and elders immediately readied their weapons. Obeying Ning Xuanwu's command, the people of the Xuanwu sect charged towards Yifeng's martial arts gym. The people of the Xuanwu sect ran through the streets, pushing away the mortals and tables that they laid their eyes on. The mortals ran for their lives, seeing that the group of ferocious people was running towards them. Moments later, when they got closer to Yifeng's martial arts gym, Ling Yar asked Ning Xuanwu to look at something. She expressed that the four old men sitting at the gate of the martial arts gym could have been some kind of trick. Ning Xuanwu said that the arrows were already on the string. He told Ling Yar that there was no need to talk too much. After declaring that he would take the lead, Ning Xuanwu ordered his people to keep an eye on them and not let a single person come out of the martial arts gym alive. Ning Xuanwu then attacked the four old men, saying that they must have been Yifeng's relatives. He thought that the old men were blind and deaf for not knowing how to retreat in the face of death. Ning Xuanwu threatened the four that he would wipe them all out along with the martial arts gym. Irritated by Ning Xuanwu's screaming, Wu Yonghong cursed, asking who was bold enough to disturb their peaceful time. After taking a closer look at Wu Yonghong's face, Ning Xuanwu pondered who the ugly bastard was. When Ning Xuanwu got closer to the four old men, he couldn't help but have a cold sweat. He felt the aura of the four ancestral martial art masters. Ning Xuanwu suddenly remembered some things. Martial ancestor Lai Mozai possessed a fortune-telling abacus that was a unique sacred relic of heaven and earth. Martial ancestor Chu Shiquang, a peerless madman who rebelled against his sect. He slaughtered the sect and polished the skulls of all the people in the sect into artifacts and hung them on his body. Martial ancestor Sun Juge was born with deformity. His meridians were all broken when he was young, but later he practiced evil skills and changed his fate. Martial ancestor Wu Yonghong, who possessed a 9-toothed holy rake, was once cheated by a man. As a result, he slaughtered the whole city in a rage. Many martial experts gathered to stop him, but they all ended up dead as Wu Yonghong sliced them all up. Realizing who the four old men were, Ning Xuanwu cursed. He couldn't understand why the four ancestral martial art masters were there. He couldn't think of a reason as to why the four great madmen, who had long disappeared from the world, would appear in front of that small martial arts gym. A hand suddenly grabbed Ning Xuanwu's leg. Seeing that it was Sun Juge's hand, Ning Xuanwu couldn't help but think that martial ancestor Master Sun Juge was abnormal. Noticing the old men's strangeness, Ling Yar ordered the people of Xuanwu sect to help Ning Xuanwu. She took the lead and smashed into a barrier. Ning Xuanwu's eyes widened, seeing that his people couldn't help him. Sun Juge said that the people of the Xuanwu sect were ants that didn't seem to want to live for trying to cause trouble in the martial arts gym, which Yifeng just cleaned. A skull floated above the people of Xuanwu sect, releasing some kind of gas. Ling Yar exclaimed, knowing that the gas released by the skull was dangerous. As soon as the gas had spread out, Ling Yar's clothes were torn into pieces while the people behind her started to melt. It didn't take long before the bones of the weaker Xuanwu sect members started to crumble and turn into dust. Ling Yar was lucky enough to have just received an internal injury. Ning Xuanwu laughed awkwardly. He paid his respects to the four seniors before asking them what they were doing there. Instead of answering, Wu Yonghong asked Ning Xuanwu where he got the courage to attack them. Ning Xuanwu quickly explained himself, saying that it was all a misunderstanding. He told Wu Yonghong's group that he didn't dare to be disrespectful to them. Ning Xuanwu then revealed that his original intention was to wipe out Yifeng's little martial arts gym. Wu Yonghong and Chu Shiquang glared at Ning Xuanwu, their killing intent flaring up. Chu Shiquang told Ning Xuanwu that his life couldn't be spared for wanting to destroy Yifeng's martial arts gym. Ning Xuanwu panicked. He said that, being young and ignorant, they unknowingly angered 4 old men. He then begged the old men to be merciful, claiming that they weren't intending to harm them. When the 3 old men were about to harm Ning Xuanwu, Wu Yonghong intervened. Wu Yonghong told the 3 that it would be easy for them to clean up Ning Xuanwu and his people, but they would inevitably dirty Yifeng's ground. He then said that Yifeng would definitely be angry if he saw all of it. Ning Xuanwu thought to himself that the gentleman that the old men were referring to must have been the real owner of the martial arts gym. Lai Mozai informed Ning Xuanwu that although they could have killed him immediately for interrupting their enlightenment, they wouldn't deal with him since he was on Yifeng's ground. Ning Xuanwu quickly admitted his sin. To be able to convince the 4 most sinful madmen to be his doormen, he couldn't help but wonder who the gentleman was. When Chu Shiquang asked him to confirm if he was Ning Xuanwu of the Xuanwu sect, Ning Xuanwu immediately confirmed. Chu Shiquang told Ning Xuanwu that even if his ancestor Ning Jiyushan were alive, he wouldn't dare make trouble there. He then asked Ning Xuanwu if he really thought that he had surpassed his ancestor. Yifeng suddenly came out of his house. He forgot that the eggs in the store next door were on sale that day. After telling Ning Xuanwu to wipe his dog's face so as not to dirty Yifeng's eyes, the old men greeted Yifeng. Yifeng excused himself, saying that he was going to buy an ingredient. He told the old men that he would get an extra discount with his clean face. Ning Xuanwu exclaimed, noticing that the old men were calling Yifeng Mr. Yifeng. Wu Yonghong wanted to explain to Yifeng why Ning Xuanwu came, but Yifeng told him that he didn't have to because he already knew why Ning Xuanwu was there. Ning Xuanwu was perplexed after seeing Yifeng. The 4 great madmen were willing to be Yifeng's disciples, but Ning Xuanwu could see that Yifeng was no different from a mortal. He started to think that Yifeng just looked unremarkable but was actually unfathomable. After being told by Yifeng that he already knew everything, the 4 old men couldn't help but say that they were just uselessly talking too much. Yifeng told the old men that it was fine. Remembering the time when he was being nagged by an old man for not giving up his seat, Yifeng sympathized with Ning Xuanwu, thinking that old men liked to make a big deal out of the younger generation when they were sleepy. Sun Juge asked Yifeng what he planned to do with Ning Xuanwu. Yifeng was confused as to why the old men were letting him decide. Knowing that his life and death were in Yifeng's hands, Ning Xuanwu smiled at Yifeng. Sun Juge told Yifeng that he had the final say since the martial arts gym was his. Yifeng didn't really have anything to say, but since he was forced to make a decision, he said that Ning Xuanwu must bear the corresponding consequences for the mistake he had made. Yifeng pointed out that it was just that they couldn't help but give a chance to the younger generation, whether he would grow or not after the lesson was up to his own destiny. After saying that he was kind of in a hurry, Yifeng quickly ran away, telling the old men that they should just take care of it. Yifeng was relieved that he had finally slipped away. From a lesson that he had learned from the past, he knew that it was the most troublesome to find fault with the old man. Ning Xuanwu was shocked. He couldn't believe that Yifeng had left without taking his life. The 4 old men thought that what Yifeng had said to them was a hint that they could continue observing Ning Xuanwu but shouldn't take too much time. And when Yifeng told them to just take care of it, they thought that Yifeng had left the matter in their hands to test them. They thought that if the matter was not handled properly, it would affect Yifeng's seclusion life, and maybe their fate would also be the same. The old men were under the impression that it was Yifeng's way of expressing his anger. Failing to understand why the old men had reacted that way, Ning Xuanwu couldn't help but wonder if he could leave. Lai Mozai suddenly expressed that they had almost made a mistake. He said that Yifeng had been considerate of the 4 of them, so they shouldn't embarrass the younger generation. Chu Shiquang regretted that they had gone on a killing spree, saying that what Yifeng wanted them to do was just to punish the young generation in a sincere way. Wu Yonghong ordered Ning Xuanwu to take out his storage bag. Ning Xuanwu obediently took out his storage bag. He didn't really care that much because he was confident that as long as he could keep the last treasure, he'd still have a chance to make a comeback. Ning Xuanwu gave his storage bag to Wu Yonghong, saying that the bag contained all the resources of the Xuanwu sect. He asked Wu Yonghong to take it, hoping that his so-called insignificant wealth could make up for his mistake. After receiving the storage bag, Wu Yonghong ordered Ning Xuanwu to get up. Ning Xuanwu quickly shot up and ran away. He had told the old men that he would be leaving first so as not to disturb their mealtime. Sun Juge suddenly extended his right arm and shot a black mist towards Ning Xuanwu. Ning Xuanwu was startled when the black mist seeped into his right arm. Sun Juge informed Ning Xuanwu that it was his celestial poison, and that it would spread all over his body from his arm in 3 days. Ning Xuanwu had only had that one hand left, so he inevitably panicked. Sun Juge told Ning Xuanwu that he should know that it was Yifeng's intention to not take his life directly. He then said that Ning Xuanwu's life and death depended on his good fortune. Ning Xuanwu spat out blood as he was mercilessly punched by Sun Juge. Thinking that what they had done to Ning Xuanwu should be enough to punish him for his sins, Sun Juge ordered Ning Xuanwu to get lost. Moments later, a loud bang echoed inside the Xuanwu sect's main hall. Jiang Sen told Ning Xuanwu that there was some misunderstanding. He pleaded with Ning Xuanwu to let him explain. Ning Xuanwu got even more furious and kicked Jiang Sen's head. He was offended by Jiang Sen's words. To him, it sounded like Jiang Sen was blaming him for the misfortune he had encountered. One of the elders anxiously stared at Jiang Sen's decapitated body. The elder then asked Ning Xuanwu what they should do next. They were the only ones left in their clan, so he couldn't help but ask Ning Xuanwu if he still wanted to take revenge and continue to take back the Cloak of Swiftness and the Heaven-Shattering Stone. With only his remaining poisoned hand, Ning Xuanwu couldn't even think of taking revenge. He declared that that day would be the end of the feud between their clan and Yifeng's martial arts gym. Ning Xuanwu warned everyone that anyone who dared to offend Yifeng's martial arts gym and its people inside would end up like Jiang Sen. Ling Yar asked Ning Xuanwu what was inside the martial arts gym. The disciples of their clan were wiped out in a blink of an eye. If it hadn't been for her higher cultivation base, Ling Yar was afraid that she could have also died. Ning Xuanwu informed Ling Yar that there were 4 martial ancestors and 1 martial saint, who could even be a martial emperor. Ning Xuanwu told everyone that in the face of absolute strength, they could only let go of their hatred, saying that what's more important was to guard against the Qingshan sect. Ling Yar didn't understand what Ning Xuanwu meant. Ning Xuanwu exhaled hard. Both the Xuanwu sect and the Qingshan sect had been fighting against each other for thousands of years and had always maintained equilibrium. But Ning Xuanwu had never imagined that a reclusive power pretending to be immortal would descend from the sky in their city. Knowing that Liu Qingshan had made friends and had obtained a peerless sword from Yifeng, Ning Xuanwu thought that if they blindly let it go, sooner or later they would be eaten and wiped out by Liu Qingshan. Ning Xuanwu told Ling Yar that they must try their best to please and get close to Yifeng, at least as much as Liu Qingshan. He then ordered her to use her beauty and charm to seduce Yifeng and become his woman. Ning Xuanwu had been treating Ling Yar like his own daughter, so he knew that it was embarrassing for her. But he didn't have a choice but to put the future of the Xuanwu sect in her hands. Ling Yar told Ning Xuanwu that it wasn't that she didn't want to. She said that she was just afraid that Yifeng might not like her. Ning Xuanwu scolded Ling Yar, saying that he had never taught her the word afraid since she grew up. He told her that in order to achieve great things, she needed to have courage. Knowing that she had always admired the strong, Ning Xuanwu was certain that it wasn't a loss for Ling Yar. He then said that if Ling Yar lost the overall sense of the situation because of those constraints, he would never feel confident enough to hand over the Xuanwu sect to her. Ling Yar closed her eyes as she was having a hard time coming up with a decision. After thinking about things thoroughly, Ling Yar accepted Ning Xuanwu's order. At the same time, in the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, with a dark face, Mao Lin sat silently inside his room. Moments later, Yuna entered the room. She asked Mao Lin why he had called her all of a sudden. Instead of answering, Mao Lin asked Yuna what she thought of the author of The Dream of Red Mansions and Supreme Treasure. Yuna told Mao Lin that although she had never met the author, just from reading the book, she could tell that the author must have been a handsome young man. Mao Lin smiled upon hearing Yuna's answer. He informed her that the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce had been overwhelmed by the sales of Yifeng's book, The Supreme Treasure. Mao Lin said that since the first-level Chamber of Commerce evaluation was ready to begin, as a father, he wanted Yuna to have a good relationship with Yifeng. He made a wrong move, so he had to sell his daughter to get a chance to save his life. Yuna told Mao Lin that he didn't have to say much, saying that she understood and that she was willing since Yifeng was a good man. Meanwhile, in the Xuanwu sect, Ling Yar thought to herself that the honey trap was very good, and whether it would succeed or not depended on whether Yifeng would fall for her beauty. As soon as Yifeng arrived home, Zhang King immediately informed him that there were things that the 4 old men had left for him. He told him that the old men had said that half of those things were gifts for his grace that day, and the other half was for the rake he had fixed last time. Wang Kai knew that all those things were precious treasures that ordinary cultivators would have a hard time obtaining. He admired Yifeng even more, thinking that he was the only one who had the ability to acquire such treasures without even making a move. Yifeng expressed his disappointment. He said that the old men should have just given him money instead of leaving him with those pieces of junk that couldn't even be used as a plaything for Wang Kai. But he couldn't help but exclaim the moment he saw and unfolded an umbrella that he seemed to recognize. Wang Kai broke into a cold sweat, wondering why Yifeng had reacted that way when he saw the umbrella. Yifeng used the umbrella and said that Bai Suzhen, under the mountain Qingchen, had practiced for 1,000 years in a cave, and through her efforts, she had become immortal. Zhang King was confused, while Wang Kai stared at Yifeng admiringly. Yifeng felt embarrassed. He ordered the two to just forget about it, telling them that they wouldn't understand the art called cosplay. He then said that he would put those items in the utility room with him first. Zhang King and Wang Kai quickly brought the treasures into the utility room. After a while he was staring at the utility room, Wang Kai howled in fear. Ever since Yifeng had gone through the utility room's door, from time to time, he could feel a deep and terrifying aura emanating from inside. Yifeng patted Wang Kai's head, telling him that he was a good boy. Wang Kai thought to himself that Yifeng didn't seem to care much about it at all. He couldn't keep himself from wondering what was inside the utility room, but it was locked so tightly that he didn't feel confident that he could get out. Moments later, Lan Zhu and Yingxing arrived in front of Yifeng's martial arts gym. After asking if Yifeng was inside, Yingxing announced that he had come to present the invitation for that year's poetry conference. Lan Zhu warned Yingxing to be careful when he talked to Yifeng. She said that Yifeng had stopped in Jiangping City, and while arranging the overall situation, he was also comprehending the lives of mortals. Lan Zhu reminded Yingxing that those 2 points were taboos and should not be offended. Yingxing told Lan Zhu not to worry, saying that he knew. As soon as he opened the door, Yifeng asked Yingxing why he had given him the invitation personally when, in previous years, the criteria for participation in the poetry conference had been so high that he hadn't been invited. Yingxing quickly explained to Yifeng that his book, The Supreme Treasure, had become a household name and that its literary significance had been unanimously recognized by the public. He then told Yifeng that he had become one of the top literary figures in Jiangping City, a real hot new star in the literary world. Yingxing said that if Yifeng had the time to show up at the meeting, it would be a blessing for the talented people of Jiangping. Yifeng accepted the invitation, saying that he would go and join in the fun. He wanted to see whether the cultural knowledge of that world was deeper or his 5,000 years of heritage was stronger. The annual poetry conference finally opened on the bank of the Chengxi River in Jiangping City. There, the young talents of the whole Jiangping City were gathered. In that place, they didn't judge people by their strength or family background but only by their literacy talent. Someone told everyone to gather quickly, saying that the 4 great talents of Jiangping were going to write poems. The so-called 4 great talents of Jiangping started reciting some lines. If you had friends from afar, they would be pearls even if they were far away. There was a way to heaven. If you didn't walk, you had no boundaries to learn and work hard. My love for you was like the raging sea, so powerful and deep it would forever be. Through storm, wind, and heavy rain, it would withstand every pain. I loved you more with every heartbeat. After hearing those lines, Yifeng had a questioning look on his face. But the people behind him went wild, appreciating how good the poems were. A man from the crowd asked if those 4 men were really the great talents of Jiangping. Yifeng pulled the man by his collar and yelled at him, telling him to wake up. As Yifeng walked away, some men recited poems to a woman, saying that 1,000,000 stars up in the sky, one shone brighter, I couldn't deny. A love so precious, a love so true, a love that came from me to you. Another man then said that love was like a river, a never-ending stream. Love was shared by each other to answer someone's dream. Ling Yar just ignored the men around her. She had inquired about Yifeng's work and habits so as not to ruin his original intention of experiencing a mortal life. She even disguised herself in the form of a mortal. When she got closer to Yifeng, she acted like she had been tripped by something just so she could get Yifeng's attention. No one had ever escaped her beauty trap, so Ling Yar believed that Yifeng would surely be tempted. Yifeng glanced at Ling Yar with a worried look on his face. Seeing that Yifeng was worried, Ling Yar couldn't help but smile. But instead of catching Ling Yar, Yifeng made a serious dodge and quickly ran away. The so-called 4 great talents of Jiangping were the ones who caught the confused Ling Yar. One of the so-called great talents wondered how anyone could not have taken Ling Yar into their arms earlier when her beauty was like that. Irritated, Ling Yar mercilessly kicked the 4 great talents of Jiangping. The 4 great talents told Ling Yar not to worry. They promised her that they would take care of her. Ling Yar's eyes widened the moment she turned her attention towards Yifeng. A woman approached Yifeng, saying that she was glad to have finally met him. The woman was actually Yuna. She introduced herself to Yifeng, telling him that she was the daughter of the chairman of the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, Mao Yuner. Yifeng didn't stop walking and just said hello to Yuna. He was annoyed by the fact that Yuna was from the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce. Yuna wanted to stop Yifeng, but a woman suddenly told her that she was ridiculous for wanting to get Yifeng's attention after what she had done. Yuna talked back to the woman, telling her that she was the one who was ridiculous. She then questioned the woman who she was. To answer Yuna, Ling Yar confidently said that she was someone that Yuna could only hope to reach. She told Yuna that she wasn't worthy of getting close to Yifeng. A man from the crowd was bewildered as to why Yifeng was favored by two goddesses at the same time despite having an ugly appearance. A lemon-faced person suddenly said, "Lemon fruit on the lemon tree, you and me under the lemon tree." When the man beside him praised his poem, the lemon-faced person was flattered. Out of nowhere, a woman yelled at Yifeng, calling him a bastard. Peng Ying asked Yifeng why he had always followed her. She scolded him, telling him that everything she had worked so hard for would be ruined if Yu Wuji saw them together again. Peng Ying blamed Yifeng for the humiliation she had suffered at the hands of Lan Zhu. Yifeng clearly didn't care about Peng Ying. He just told Peng Ying that there was nothing to say between them. Peng Ying believed that Yifeng had just pretended to be self-righteous. She told him that he shouldn't think too highly of himself just because he had written a book. She pointed out to him that he was just a mortal and that Lan Zhu from the Qingshan sect wouldn't always be by his side to protect him. Peng Ying then said that Yifeng, a person who would always be just trash living at the bottom, would never be worthy of her, a cultivator who was a disciple of the Qingshan sect. Yifeng stopped walking. He said that although Peng Ying's speech was good, he still wouldn't turn around for her. Yifeng told Peng Ying that the mountain was high and the river was long, so they shouldn't cross each other's paths again. However, instead of stopping, Peng Ying got even more aggressive. She told Yifeng that she hated it when he pretended to be naive and acted like he was superior to her, and that she thought that an ant like him was only worthy of guarding his broken martial arts gym for the rest of his life. Peng Ying pointed out to Yifeng that no woman would look at a man like him who lived at the bottom of the pile. Yifeng's patience seemed to have run out, but before he could do or say anything, someone had already slapped Peng Ying. Yuna stood in front of Yifeng and glared at Peng Ying. Peng Ying was enraged. The people behind her couldn't believe that a mortal dared to hit a cultivator. Yuna quickly hid behind Yifeng, afraid that Peng Ying might suddenly attack her. Peng Ying was so busy thinking about how the coercion of her 9-tier martial art could crush Yifeng and Yuna like ants that she didn't notice that there was a palm quickly approaching her cheek. Peng Ying screamed in pain as she was slapped by another woman. She clenched her teeth and asked Ling Yar who she was. Ling Yar nonchalantly told Peng Ying that she was a fan of Yifeng. Peng Ying got even more annoyed. Since she only saw Yifeng as an ant who wrote a book, she couldn't understand why all those women regarded Yifeng as a saint. Peng Ying then revealed a crazy smile. She believed that even a beautiful woman was just a loser if she didn't have cultivation like Yifeng. She mocked mortals for being so vulnerable. Red aura gathered towards Peng Ying's palm and slowly formed into a sword. Ling Yar asked Yifeng to let her handle Peng Ying, saying that it was not appropriate for a gentleman to interfere in a woman's affairs. Yuna couldn't help but complain. She could clearly see that Ling Yar was taking advantage of the situation. Thinking that Yuna was talking to her, Peng Ying reminded Yuna that she was the first one to become disrespectful. She wanted to punish Yuna harder for blaming her. Yuna turned pale as she quickly explained to Peng Ying that she wasn't talking to her. Peng Ying told Yuna that it was already too late for her to regret what she had done. Since Yuna had hit her so hard, Peng Ying wanted Yuna to get down on her knees. Yuna started trembling as she refused to follow Peng Ying's order. Peng Ying slashed her sword to assert her dominance. Seeing how scared Yuna had gotten, Peng Ying couldn't help but laugh, saying that an ant was just an ant. She then stared at Ling Yar. Ling Yar's slap was heavier, so Peng Ying thought to herself that Ling Yar should be doubly humiliated. Peng Ying thrust her sword towards Ling Yar. Seeing how surprised she was, things didn't seem to have turned out as she had expected. Peng Ying couldn't understand how Ling Yar managed to catch her sword. Ling Yar twisted the blade. It made handling the sword painful for Peng Ying. The moment she couldn't endure the pain any longer, Peng Ying let go of her sword, letting it pierce through the tile behind her. Ling Yar asked Peng Ying if her sword was really that hard to handle. She then said that she wondered if a 9th-level martial artist who couldn't even hold her own sword deserved to be called a cultivator. Ling Yar raised her hand and repeatedly slapped Peng Ying, demanding her to answer if she was worthy or not. Instead of answering, Peng Ying asked Ling Yar who she was. Ling Yar stopped slapping Peng Ying. She asked her one more time to answer if she deserved to be called a cultivator with such a small amount of cultivation that she had. Seemingly lost in her thoughts, Peng Ying said weakly that she didn't deserve to be called a cultivator. While she was expressing her satisfaction, Ling Yar kicked Peng Ying in the face. Witnessing what just happened, Yifeng was reminded of how terrible it was when girls quarreled. When the water in the river splashed as Peng Ying was thrown into it, Ling Yar quickly turned around and greeted Yifeng. After Ling Yar told him that he remembered her, Yifeng thanked Ling Yar for her kindness and help. The last time Ling Yar was in the martial arts gym, Yifeng found her very strange, and on their second meeting, she performed porcelain. Yifeng started to believe that she acted that way because she really was a fan of his book. Ling Yar, who didn't expect that Yifeng would talk, struggled to say her words straight. She couldn't believe that Yifeng recognized her already. She thought that was the reason why Yifeng was so cold to her. Seeing that Ling Yar didn't know what to say, Yifeng told her that it was alright and that she didn't have to worry. While he was at it, Yifeng also thanked Yuna for helping him. Ling Yar thought to herself that not even the entire Xuanwu sect was worthy of Yifeng's attention. Yuna told Yifeng that he was too polite, saying that she hadn't even helped that much. Yifeng said to Yuna that she didn't have to humble herself like that. As a token of appreciation, he told the two that he would treat them to dinner that night. Ling Yar and Yuna willingly accepted Yifeng's offer. The men in the crowd couldn't accept what they were seeing. Moments later, Peng Ying emerged from the river and cried to her heart's content. As soon as he arrived, Yu Wuji immediately moved closer to Peng Ying's side. But when Peng Ying turned her head towards him, Yu Wuji was startled by how swollen her face was. He punched Peng Ying, thinking that she was someone else who was wearing Peng Ying's clothes. Peng Ying tried to convince Yu Wuji that she was the real Peng Ying. Wanting Yu Wuji to avenge her, she told him that it was Yifeng and his fans who had beaten her up. Yu Wuji glared at Peng Ying. He then kicked her away, telling her that he didn't have a reason to help her since her face was already ruined. Yu Wuji expressed that it was regrettable that he hadn't touched Peng Ying yet. He was disgusted by Peng Ying, saying that she was such bad luck. Since Yu Wuji looked at her like he was looking at trash, Peng Ying started to feel like everything was just a lie. She was starting to think that everyone was the same, believing that they all saw her as worthless and bullied her recklessly. At that moment, Peng Ying could feel that Yu Wuji was looking at her the same way Lan Zhu and Ling Yar had looked at her. As if responding to the sorrow that Peng Ying had been feeling, a whirlpool formed in the river. Peng Ying wondered where she had gone wrong. She had just wanted to cultivate peacefully and control her life with her own hands. She had also wanted to be looked up to and have a good life. Peng Ying asked herself if the things she had wanted were too much to ask for. Yu Wuji was surprised when Peng Ying suddenly leapt towards him. Since he had treated her like a stinky mud and trampled on her, Peng Ying decided to stick with him forever, telling him that he would never be able to get rid of her. As Peng Ying and Yu Wuji were eaten by the whirlpool, Peng Ying vowed that if there was an afterlife, everyone must pay the price. When Yifeng arrived at his martial arts gym, Wang Kai trembled while staring at the utility room. Noticing that he had been acting a little weird for some time already, Yifeng asked Wang Kai what was wrong with him. Wang Kai barked to express that he was scared. Yifeng looked at the utility room, wondering if what he was thinking was right. A deep and terrifying aura was still emanating from inside the utility room. Yifeng's eyes suddenly released a brilliant light. Thinking that he knew what Wang Kai meant, Yifeng told Wang Kai that he had to make himself at home first, assuring him that he would definitely think of something for him. Yifeng broke into a cold sweat. The more he looked at Wang Kai, the more certain he became that Wang Kai was in heat. Zhang King asked Yifeng how the poetry conference was. Yifeng told Zhang King that it was better to play Fight the Landlords with the ladies in Yihang Academy than attend the conference. Yifeng suddenly realized that it had been a long time since he had seen the ladies. Since it was still early, he decided to find the ladies and spend some time with them. Zhang King tightly gripped the broom. He then asked Yifeng if it was fun to play Fight the Landlords. Yifeng simply said to Zhang King that he wouldn't understand even if he told him, because he often passed by the ladies' place and always saw them doing some things. Zhang King thought he knew what Yifeng and the ladies were playing. He really wanted to play too. The deck of poker in that world was introduced by Yifeng, and the game of Fight the Landlords was something he taught those ladies. The game of cards is not something that can be learned without a teacher. Later that day, at sunset, Ling Yar walked towards Yifeng's martial arts gym, attracting the attention of every man she passed by. Although Yuna was stupid, her appearance and figure were not bad, so Ling Yar didn't know who Yifeng would like the most. Ling Yar planned on establishing a good relationship with Yifeng before Yuna so she could have a head start. Ling Yar stood in front of the martial arts gym and stared at the signboard. The martial arts gym had not changed a bit, but its owner had changed from her enemy to her prey. On that day, Ling Yar was in a different state of mind. She suddenly remembered Ning Xuanwu's words, telling her that the dinner was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Ning Xuanwu wanted Ling Yar to do everything in her power to make Yifeng fall for her, leaving the future of the Xuanwu sect in her hands. After steeling herself, in a loud voice, Ling Yar said that she had the honor of meeting Yifeng and that she dared not forget her manners, so she had come to pay her respects. Wang Kai sneezed after smelling Ling Yar's scent. He could tell that it was not the smell of a cosmetic product on an ordinary mortal. Zhang King was sorry to inform Ling Yar that Yifeng wasn't home at that time. He then told Ling Yar that he would tell Yifeng that she had come when he came back. Ling Yar thought aloud, wondering where Yifeng was. She said that they had just met, so she thought he would be home. Zhang King informed Ling Yar that Yifeng went to Yihang Academy to find the young ladies to fight the landlord. Ling Yar asked Zhang King to tell her what fighting the landlord meant. Zhang King was reluctant at first, but because of Ling Yar's persistence, he blurted out that fighting the landlord was the thing between men and women. Ling Yar said that even though Zhang King hadn't said it directly, she understood it well. She then thanked Zhang King and said that she would introduce one to him another day. Zhang King told Ling Yar that they would talk about it later. He advised her to go back first, saying that he still had to practice boxing. Ling Yar was worried that Yifeng would be too dense for women's love, but with the information she got from Zhang King, she believed that Yifeng just looked gentle on the surface, but was not that decent inside his heart. Ling Yar's face darkened the moment she laid her eyes on the Cloak of Swiftness. Since no one was around, she quickly used her technique to take the Cloak of Swiftness, but when she got it in her hands, she suddenly heard a wolf's howl. While Ling Yar was still confused as to why there was a wolf's cry, Zhang King came out of the house, screaming at her for daring to steal something. Zhang King then said that seeing how beautiful Ling Yar looked, he hadn't expected her to be such a person. Saying that it was just a piece of rag, Ling Yar tried to ask Zhang King to just give her the cloak. But Zhang King didn't even think about it. He ordered Ling Yar to put the rag down. Seeing that Zhang King was just a child, Ling Yar thought that there was nothing he could do, even if she forcefully took the Cloak of Swiftness. But when Zhang King pointed the kitchen knife towards her, she felt a terrifying pressure that made her fall to her knees. Ling Yar couldn't help but curse. The heaven-shattering stone and the Cloak of Swiftness were both imperial-grade treasures, but Ling Yar felt that they were nowhere near the pressure emitted by the knife. She wondered if the kitchen knife was a holy grade weapon or higher. Ling Yar obediently returned the Cloak of Swiftness to Zhang King, saying that she wouldn't dare do it again. Zhang King told Ling Yar not to even think of stealing anything from the martial arts gym under his nose, even if it was a rag or a hair of Wang Kai. The martial arts gym was Zhang King's warmest home. He vowed with his life that he would protect Yifeng, Wang Kai, and everything else. Although what Zhang King said was nice, Wang Kai thought that it sounded a little awkward. Zhang King warned Ling Yar that if she dared to steal anything from the martial arts gym again, he wouldn't show her any mercy. Ling Yar quickly promised that she wouldn't make the same mistake again. Wang Kai smirked at Ling Yar. He thought to himself that Ling Yar, whom he thought was just a lowly martial artist, deserved to be scolded that way for daring to steal his master's possession. Ling Yar felt offended. She could just forget about how Zhang King treated her since he's Yifeng's disciple, but she couldn't just let a dog bully her too. Since Ling Yar dared to look at him aggressively, Wang Kai used one of his techniques to teach her another lesson. Ling Yar's eyes widened when a beam of light coming from Wang Kai's forehead pierced through her chest. She couldn't believe that she had been beaten by a dog. Wang Kai's attack caused Ling Yar to cough up blood and fall on her back. When she looked at Wang Kai, she realized that he was actually the legendary heaven-devouring demon wolf. Ling Yar was scared by how unfathomable the martial arts gym really was. She thought to herself that her recklessness could only be resolved if she successfully won over Yifeng that night. Meanwhile, in the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, Mao Lin gave Yuna a bottle of spring flower dispersion, a liquid which had the effects of igniting love. He told her that that night was the perfect time for her to dedicate her life if she wished to do so. After meeting Yifeng that day, Yuna realized that he was such a splendid man. She decided to do it so Ling Yar wouldn't be able to take Yifeng away from her. At the same time, at Yihang Academy, a woman named Yifeng was present. She stretched her arms as she informed Yifeng that she was ready. The woman asked Yifeng to be gentle, saying that it hurt. Yifeng moved closer to the woman, telling her that what he had was too big for her. The woman told Yifeng to stop bluffing and just show what he had. The woman who had just arrived charged towards the room, saying that Yihang Academy ladies sold their arts and not their bodies. She wanted to see who dared to break the rules. One of the women who played cards with Yifeng told the woman who had just arrived to pay 300 yuan for the screen that she had pushed down. After playing cards with the ladies, Yifeng had a dilemma. He couldn't decide if it would be better for him to act cold or friendly. Thinking that they were his book fans, Yifeng wondered if he should be idolized a little. Out of nowhere, a man asked Yifeng to move aside. He told Yifeng that, judging from his expression, he could tell that he was waiting for the girl. The man then introduced himself, saying that he was Wang Xuan. After claiming that he was the same as Yifeng, he said that his girl was really difficult to date and that he had pursued her for 3 months before she agreed to date him. But when he thought of her beauty, he could say that it was worth it. A woman suddenly arrived. Wang Xuan immediately waved at the woman, calling her Xiao Yu. After clarifying that he was not bragging, Wang Xuan told Yifeng that he wouldn't be able to find a woman with the same figure and appearance as Xiao Yu in the whole Jiangping city. When Xiao Yu asked him if he knew Yifeng, Wang Xuan said that Yifeng was just a passerby who was waiting for a girl. He shared with Xiao Yu that he had told Yifeng that he could admire her because she was not a saltless girl, but was like a stream of flowers. Wang Xuan was startled when he heard the shop owner express his surprise at Yuna's arrival. The shop owner welcomed Yuna, telling her that her arrival made his little shop shine like flowers and bright lights. He then praised Ling Yar, saying that he could tell at first glance that she was not an ordinary person. Yifeng waved at Yuna and Ling Yar. Seeing that they greeted Yifeng, the shop owner realized that they were Yifeng's honored guests. He informed the women that Yifeng had been generous enough to book the best seat in their restaurant, saying that only in that way was it worthy of the three's status. Finding out that he and Yifeng were not on the same level, Wang Xuan couldn't help but think that he was shallow. Moments later, inside the room, Ling Yar was alarmed when Yuna offered Yifeng food. Seeing that all she did was give food, Ling Yar grinned. She thought to herself that on that day, she would teach Yuna that cuteness was not worth mentioning in front of sexy. Ling Yar leaned towards Yifeng and offered him a glass of wine. Yifeng quickly grabbed the cup and drank the wine in one go. He thought that as soon as the table was served, he absolutely could not reject it. Ling Yar thought to herself that after he drank her wine, Yifeng would definitely be her man that night. Yuna asked Yifeng to try the food again. She then advised him to drink slowly and not get drunk so he wouldn't be taken advantage of. Yifeng declined Yuna's offer, telling her that she didn't need to. Yifeng felt like he was going to be danced by a fairy. He told himself to sober up and not let the beauty sway his socialist heart. Saying that he must have been tired from walking on his way there, Ling Yar asked Yifeng to let her massage his shoulders. Feeling like his blood was about to be ignited, Yifeng couldn't help but think of the words Amitabha God bless hallelujah. Yuna quickly grabbed Yifeng's foot, saying that she knew a massage technique too. She promised Yifeng that she would make sure to let his blood spurt to the fullest. Yifeng wanted to stop Yuna, but Yuna told him not to talk and just feel it. Thinking that he would lose if he shouted out, Yifeng tried his best not to shout out. He thought to himself that if he couldn't even stand that much strength, he would become a joke in every girl's eyes. But even though he steeled himself, it didn't take long before he pulled his foot and screamed in pain. Yifeng yelled at Yuna and Ling Yar, asking them if they had had enough. Ling Yar couldn't understand why she got scolded as well. Yifeng then told the two that they shouldn't mind what he had just said, claiming that he didn't mean to say those words to them. He explained to them that he was just not used to it and that he didn't like it. Yuna and Ling Yar glared at each other. Ling Yar suddenly called for Yifeng's attention. She asked Yifeng to be with her that night and fight the landlord. When Yifeng asked her if she had ever fought the landlord, Ling Yar said that she hadn't and that it would be her first time fighting the landlord with Yifeng. Yifeng informed Ling Yar that fighting the landlord was addictive, telling her that if he played with her, that night wouldn't be enough. But he said that as long as Ling Yar promised that she wouldn't cry no matter how he fought, he would get a room and would not exit until they enjoyed themselves to their heart's content. Ling Yar felt embarrassed. She had said everything so blatantly, but she wouldn't be able to resist it. Yifeng suddenly told Ling Yar that fighting the landlord with just the two of them would be pointless. After saying that there must be 3 people, Yifeng invited Yuna to come and join them. Since she didn't want to leave the two of them alone, Yuna quickly agreed. Thinking that Yifeng wanted to do it with the two of them, Ling Yar couldn't help but wonder if Yifeng knew what he was talking about. She asked Yifeng to confirm if he was sure that he wanted 3 people to fight the landlord. Yifeng told Ling Yar that he was sure, saying that since they were fighting the landlord, they needed at least 3 people. He informed her that if there were enough people, 4 people could do it too. Hearing Yifeng's words made Ling Yar say that it was great that Yifeng was really good at it. Yifeng told Ling Yar that there was nothing great about it, saying that it was a daily routine for him. He then asked the waiter to get them a room and to find someone to go to his martial arts gym to ask Zhang King to get the props to fight the landlord. While Yifeng was telling Yuna that he would teach her, Ling Yar was thinking that she could see a little bit through Yifeng's mediocre appearance and feel the truth about him as an old monster. She was really glad that she was not alone. When Yifeng went to the bathroom, Ling Yar told Yuna what fighting the landlord meant. After learning what fighting the landlord meant, Yuna suggested to Ling Yar that they should set aside their prejudices against each other and just have fun with Yifeng that night. Yuna poured the spring flower dispersion into a cup, saying that she wanted to share it with Ling Yar. While Yuna was talking to a messenger, Ling Yar burned a talisman. At the same time, in the Xuanwu sect, the talisman that Ning Xuanwu was holding suddenly started burning. The talisman relayed Ling Yar's message, stating that she would enjoy the pleasure of fish and water with Yifeng that night, and that after that night, the Xuanwu sect would rise again. Ning Xuanwu laughed wildly and thought aloud that he didn't care what conspiracy Lu Qingshan used to win Yifeng's trust since he would get the final prize. A fat elder asked Ning Xuanwu why he was so excited. Ning Xuanwu told the elders that Ling Yar had already grasped Yifeng's heart and that after that night, Ling Yar would be his woman. He then said that as long as Yifeng could have a good time with Ling Yar in bed, their grudges with him would be settled, and the Xuanwu sect would also receive unexpected benefits. The elders got excited as well, saying that if what Ning Xuanwu said happened, in the whole territory of Jiangping, their Xuanwu sect would become the #1 sect and the Qingshan sect would have no place to stand. Meanwhile, in the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, while they were having a meeting, a messenger entered the room and looked for Mao Lin. The messenger whispered to Mao Lin that Yuna had asked him to tell him that the bottle of spring flower dispersion had been used and that the next dawn would be the day of great success. A bald elder said that there really was no one from their group who had any idea how to get through their situation. He thought that they would definitely lose the title of the first-level Chamber of Commerce if things went on like that. After hearing the news that the messenger brought, Mao Lin suddenly screamed, causing one of the elders to ask him what made him so excited all of a sudden. Other elders told Mao Lin that if the reason for his excitement was not because he had thought of a way to suppress the influence of the books on the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, they would have to discuss replacing him as chairman. After expressing his contempt, Mao Lin said to the elders that he wanted to see which of them dared to replace him, telling them that they must be joking for thinking that he couldn't solve a little Yifeng. Mao Lin told the elders that he might as well have told them that his daughter and Yifeng would soon be engaged to each other. He proudly said that Yifeng would have to respectfully call him father-in-law when he saw him. The elders were shocked. They questioned the truthfulness of Mao Lin's words. But when Mao Lin asked them why he would lie about his own daughter's lifelong events, the elders got scared, so they just kept their mouths shut. The elders then said that since Yifeng had become Mao Lin's son-in-law, it wouldn't be a problem for him to serve Mao Lin in the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce. They praised Mao Lin for his wisdom, telling him that their Chamber of Commerce still had to rely on him to lead them towards a promising future. Thinking that it was the reason why he was so calm, the elders told Mao Lin that he should have just told them such good news, saying that they had been worried for so long for nothing. Meanwhile, Yifeng and the girls went inside the room that the shop owner had prepared. After checking that the table was strong, Yifeng invited the girls to come. He thought to himself that with a table that's strong, the girls wouldn't be able to lift it when the fight became fierce. Yuna asked Yifeng if he really wanted to fight the landlord on the table. As if he were saying that there was no other place to do it but on the table, Yifeng asked Yuna where else they would do it. Ling Yar and Yuna were shocked by how straightforward Yifeng was. They stopped hesitating and immediately sat on top of the table. Accepting his decision to do it on the table, Yuna asked Yifeng how they would start. While he was asking them to move, Yifeng pushed the women to the side, telling them that the rules for fighting the landlords are very simple. Yifeng placed the deck of cards on the table and explained the rules to the women. Ling Yar and Yuna froze out of embarrassment. They just stared at Yifeng, mouths agape. Knowing that they had just misunderstood everything, they lost their reason to be there since they had just come there to be in bed with Yifeng. They couldn't help but curse and want to just die instead. As the saying goes, big gambling hurt, small gambling was good for the soul. But Yifeng thought that fighting like that was boring, so he told the women to bet something. Yifeng suggested to them that they put something valuable but not too expensive on the line. He then put a dagger on the table as his bet, saying that it was his favorite one. Although she couldn't recognize the specific qualities of the dagger, Ling Yar truly knew that it was at least higher than an imperial-grade item. She thought that she couldn't afford to make a low-key bet against that holy item. Since Ning Xuanwu's storage bag was taken, the twin sabers in Ling Yar's hands, which were the same level as the heaven-shattering stone, were the last treasure of the Xuanwu sect. Ling Yar placed the twin sabers on the table and asked Yifeng if it was okay for her to use them as a bet, since those two different kinds of supreme treasures were just about the same. When Yifeng told her that the daggers were good enough, Ling Yar couldn't help but wonder if all magic weapons in the entire world really looked the same to him, and if Yifeng didn't care if he won or lost because it was all just a plaything for him. Although there was a sudden change of plans, both Ling Yar and Yuna were thinking that there was no harm in having fun with Yifeng. They believed that things would go their way as long as they waited for the drug to take effect. Ling Yar steeled herself. She wanted to try to get the dagger so she could make her master happy. Yuna took out a piece of copper and asked Yifeng if she could use it. She thought to herself that if the two were using a dagger and twin sabers as a bet, she also had to come up with something comparable. Yuna could feel that the dagger and twin sabers both had a mysterious and unpredictable aura, so she knew that they weren't ordinary, since she could tell that the piece of copper seemed to be one of the keys to a secret realm. Ling Yar wondered if Yuna really was stupid or just pretending to be a pig to hunt a tiger. But despite not knowing what Yuna was thinking, Ling Yar was still confident that the two items were going to be in her pocket in the end. Although Yuna knew that the piece of copper was extraordinary, she had no use for it. So she thought that it was a win for her if she could win those two treasures using that rib of good fortune. A few hours later, when the sun had already risen, a loud bang startled and scared a chicken away. Yifeng arrogantly dropped his cards on the table. The night had already passed, and Yifeng had lost count of how many times he had beaten the two noob women. Knowing that it was almost dawn, Ling Yar was afraid that she would have to steal the chicken and lose the rice. If she lost, she wouldn't be able to go back to her sect and explain it to her master. Realizing that she was about to lose the treasure of her Chamber of Commerce, Yuna couldn't help but bite her lip. Yifeng left the women, saying that they would take a rest first and that he would be back in a minute. Ling Yar and Yuna couldn't stand it anymore. The effect of the medicinal properties of spring flowers increased with time and would reach its peak in broad daylight. Yuna told Ling Yar that whether mortal or god, one could not break free from the abyss of the most primitive desires of human nature. After losing that much, they both knew that if they failed to do it with Yifeng that night, they would have to pay. Yuna was startled when Yifeng suddenly came back and suggested to them that they should just continue playing that night, saying that it was almost dawn and that he was so tired. When Yifeng was about to take the treasures, both Ling Yar and Yuna tried to take their treasures before Yifeng could. But when Yifeng asked them if they couldn't give it up, the two quickly said that since they lost, they were definitely willing to admit defeat. Yifeng expressed his satisfaction. He told the women that those were just worthless items and that they could just win them back next time. Yifeng explained to them that since he had that winning streak, he must not break the rule. Otherwise, when he played again next time, he wouldn't be able to make people take it seriously. Yuna grabbed Yifeng's arm and told him that he had been so focused on playing cards all night that he hadn't even had a few sips of water. She asked him to sit with them and have some water first. Yifeng poured himself and the women a cup of water. He wanted them to drink too, telling them that they shouldn't be polite since they hadn't drunk any water either. Although they were caught off guard, Ling Yar and Yuna didn't hesitate to drink the water, thinking that maybe their performance after drinking it could please Yifeng even more. Since things had been half done, they just had to wait a little longer for the drug to take effect and be completed. Yuna asked Yifeng if teaching his disciple on weekdays didn't tire him. But before Yifeng could answer, Ling Yar asked Yifeng if there was anything else he wanted them to do, telling him that he didn't have to be superficial with them since they had been fighting landlord all night long. Yifeng couldn't think straight. He started feeling hot all of a sudden. Seeing that Yifeng was starting to get undressed, Ling Yar and Yuna got excited, thinking that there was just one more step to go. Ling Yar put Yifeng's cloth across her face. She sniffed it and expressed that it smelled really good. Noticing that her face was so red, Yifeng asked Ling Yar if she had a fever. Yuna suddenly came between them and told Yifeng that a moment of spring night was worth $1,000 and that the sound of his breathing had betrayed him. Yifeng exclaimed. He didn't expect that the women would find out about it. As she pulled Yifeng's hand towards her chest, Yuna thought to herself that, with it, she would know victory or defeat in one fell swoop. Ling Yar regarded Yuna with a meaningful glance. She planned to suck Yuna dry if she dared to put it up. Yuna wanted to prove to Ling Yar that she could, but she was flustered when Yifeng suddenly held her shoulders. Yifeng whispered to her that he didn't expect that she would notice that he really wanted to go to the toilet. He explained that although he just came from the toilet, he could feel that he had a kidney deficiency since he really could not hold it any longer. He told the women that, whether they believed it or not, it was an emergency where everyone must answer the call of nature, and that he was going to receive that call. Yifeng thought to himself that he must always make things clear so people will not misunderstand him. The women were too shocked to stop Yifeng from going out of the room. Yuna asked Ling Yar what they should do. The effect of the spring flower dispersion was starting to get out of their control, so Yuna couldn't help but worry about what would happen if Yifeng did not come back. Yuna's eyes widened when Ling Yar suddenly held her hand tightly and kissed her passionately. Ling Yar distanced herself from Yuna and quickly explained that she didn't mean to do it. The effect of the drug made her feel like if she didn't vent, her body would burst out. Yuna got scared. She told Ling Yar that she must hold on until Yifeng came back. Ling Yar laid Yuna on the table. Although she knew that she shouldn't do it, she couldn't keep herself from doing it because her body was reacting to the drug. Ling Yar was starting to lose her mind. Her rational thought was telling her that she shouldn't do it with a woman, but her desire was telling her that it didn't matter if she did it with a woman. Yuna pushed Ling Yar away. She felt so sticky as the wine was poured all over them. Yuna quickly explained to Ling Yar that she didn't mean to do it, but Ling Yar didn't care. She didn't say anything and just forced herself on Yuna. They just let the wine continuously pour out of the bottle. While Yifeng was urinating, Ling Yar and Yuna kissed and did some things inside the room. Since they were able to release the things and feelings that they were holding back, the three of them felt eternal happiness. After answering nature's call, Yifeng immediately went back to the room. Yifeng froze the moment he saw what Yuna and Ling Yar were doing. He stared at them, eyes wide and mouth agape. Realizing that what he was seeing were things that shouldn't be seen, Yifeng quickly went out of the room and apologized to the women for bothering them. Waking up from his initial shock, Yifeng wondered why he had lamented about it. There were so many beautiful sisters in the world, but none of them belonged to him. Yifeng decided to just go home and take care of the dog. Later that day, in the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, Mao Lin lost his balance and coughed up blood after hearing Yuna's report about what happened. Mao Lin couldn't believe that Yuna had not just failed to do her mission but also gave away a valuable treasure and ended up being slept on by a woman. Yuna told Mao Lin that she also never thought that her first time would actually be with a woman. Mao Lin had fallen into despair. He seemed to have accepted that everything was over for him and that everything he did was for nothing. Simultaneously, in the Xuanwu sect, Ning Xuanwu couldn't help but express his surprise, knowing that the only thing Ling Yar had accomplished was sleeping with a woman. When Ning Xuanwu asked her about the Xuanwu sect's last treasure, the twin star dark sabers, Ling Yar admitted that she lost it while fighting the landlord. Out of anger, Ning Xuanwu thumped his chest. While he was laughing frantically, Ning Xuanwu said that everything was just a wasted effort. Seeing that he was coughing up blood, the elders asked Ning Xuanwu to calm down. Ning Xuanwu ordered Ling Yar to go to the wall of the Xuanwu cliff and think about her wrongdoings for 1 year. He pointed out to her that she was not allowed to come out for a year. Meanwhile, on the Shanhao mountain, a serene view of birds peacefully building their nests on the tall and thick branches can be seen. Behind Shanhao mountain, the 4 old men were walking somewhere in the canyon. Chu Shiquang asked Lai Mozai where the hidden treasure place was. Lai Mozai told Chu Shiquang that the treasure is near them and that he should have noticed it already. Sun Juge informed everyone that although that canyon is the work of nature and looks peaceful, it is actually a dangerous place. Green, thick, thorny vines suddenly protruded from the canyon walls. The vines wrapped around the rectangular spell that Lai Mozai had activated to imprison Chu Shiquang, Wu Yonghong, and Sun Juge. While his 9-toothed holy rake was being pulled away from his hands, Wu Yonghong cursed at Lai Mozai. After successfully stealing the 9-toothed holy rake, Lai Mozai thanked Wu Yonghong, saying that any good treasure he laid his eyes on should be in his pocket. He informed the 3 that the spell that had imprisoned them was not only a natural formation there but was also a relic of an ancient battlefield from 30,000 years ago. Lai Mozai said that in those days, when the great powers were fighting, they held several more significant positions in the natural formations. He then said that he had set up 2 more layers on top of the original formation, totaling many, many layers. Lai Mozai was certain that even the gods wouldn't be able to get the 3 out of there. He told the 3 that it was useless even if they screamed and sucked their throats. Wu Yonghong asked Lai Mozai what his reason was for doing it. Lai Mozai pointed out to the 3 that they still knew nothing about him despite being friends for years. After saying that his reason should already be obvious, Lai Mozai asked the 3 if they could find treasures that are better than everything in Yifeng's martial arts gym if they looked around the world. He then said that all those things were just extraneous. He told the 3 that the real treasure is Yifeng. The 3 old men were enraged. They asked Lai Mozai where he got the courage to sully Yifeng's name. Lai Mozai glared at the 3, asking them why he wouldn't dare. He admitted that he was not afraid of Yifeng and that the treasures in Yifeng's martial arts gym were dear to his heart. Lai Mozai said that as long as he activated that thing to deprive Yifeng of his fortune, even if Yifeng is really invulnerable and immortal, he would be able to pull him off the altar and demote him into a real mortal. Confused, the three old men asked Lai Mozai what his words meant. Lai Mozai reminded the three that the next day had happened to be 10,000 years in the Xinjiang continent, a rare occurrence of a lunar year, lunar moon, and lunar sun. Chu Shiquang suddenly thought of the Heavenly Yin Grand Formation. He couldn't believe that Lai Mozai actually had the Heavenly Yin Grand Formation that had been lost for thousands of years. Those who entered the Heavenly Yin Grand Formation below the level of immortals would all lose their cultivation without even knowing about it. Wu Yonghong informed Lai Mozai that although the Heavenly Yin Formation was powerful, it violated the law of nature, and if he insisted on going against the law and setting up that formation to deal with Yifeng, he would be punished by heaven with eternal death and would not be able to reincarnate again. Wu Yonghong was surprised when Lai Mozai told him that he also knew the fate-seizing technique. Lai Mozai said that Yifeng's cultivation was so deep that no one could see through him, so he didn't know whether he was a martial supreme or a martial saint. Since there were countless heaven-defying treasures under Yifeng, Lai Mozai thought that he must have a great fate of heaven. He planned to seize all of Yifeng's fortune and claim the way of heaven. After telling him that he was crazy, Wu Yonghong asked Lai Mozai why he wanted to bite the hand that fed him. Wu Yonghong thought to himself that even if he were to die that day, he would still give his life to break through that formation just to get a hint of wind to Yifeng. Chu Shiquang was shocked when a violet beam of light suddenly pierced the formation and Wu Yonghong's chest. Sun Juge couldn't believe that Lai Mozai had actually destroyed Wu Yonghong's Danshan. Without his cultivation base, within a few days, Wu Yonghong would die as a mortal. It became clear to Chu Shiquang that Lai Mozai had completely lost his humanity. Lai Mozai told the three that all of them had to die, telling them that he was the oldest of the four of them, so they must know that his time was coming and that he was forced to do something. He thanked Wu Yonghong for introducing Yifeng to him in time. After seizing Yifeng's fate and depriving him of his cultivation, Lai Mozai planned on exchanging Yifeng's fate for his longevity so he could reach the pinnacle of martial arts. Since things had been going according to his plan, Lai Mozai felt wonderful. Meanwhile, in the Qingshan sect, the doors of Lu Qingshan's seclusion room suddenly opened. Lu Qingshan went out and enjoyed the heat of the sun. Lanzu immediately greeted Lu Qingshan and informed him that Nansha's #1 alchemist, Master Lu Desheng, had been waiting for him at the door for half a month. Lu Qingshan was surprised. He asked Lanzu why she hadn't notified him earlier. Lanzu told Lu Qingshan that she had seen that he was in seclusion, so she hadn't disturbed him. Lanzu suddenly covered her ears when she heard a melody. Martial Emperor Lu Desheng expressed his dissatisfaction, saying that the little Qingshan sect had been putting on airs by giving him the excuse that Lu Qingshan was in seclusion and making him wait for half a month. Lu Qingshan quickly greeted Lu Desheng, telling him that everyone who cultivated immortality always looked forward to seeing his golden face. After explaining that he hadn't known that Lu Desheng was there, Lu Qingshan asked for Lu Desheng's forgiveness for his negligence. Lu Desheng accepted Lu Qingshan's apology. He then told Lu Qingshan that he needed to refine a 5th-grade medicine for a certain martial emperor in Nansha, so he needed to borrow his flame orb. He promised Lu Qingshan that as long as he was willing to lend the flame orb, not only would he owe him a favor, but the martial emperor master would also do him a favor. Knowing that Lu Desheng had waited for him so patiently just because he wanted to borrow their sect's most precious treasure, Lu Qingshan felt fortunate that he had given the flame orb to Yifeng. He informed Lu Desheng that the flame orb was no longer their property, saying that he had already given it to his benefactor. Lu Desheng asked Lu Qingshan to take him to Yifeng. He wanted to ask Yifeng for it, thinking that Yifeng would definitely give him some face. Since he had already given the flaming orb to Yifeng, Lu Qingshan was afraid that it would displease him if he asked him to give it back. Lu Desheng said that he didn't care if Lu Qingshan was telling the truth or not. He wanted Lu Qingshan to give him the flaming orb within 7 days, demanding that he bring it back to him even if he had really given it away. Lu Qingshan admitted to Lu Desheng that it wasn't very convenient for him to do. He asked Lu Desheng to just ask for other requirements, saying that they would meet them all. Noticing how considerate Lu Qingshan was towards the other person, Lu Desheng asked Lu Qingshan who the person was. Lu Qingshan informed Lu Desheng that Yifeng was the benefactor and savior of the entire Qingshan sect. After telling Lu Desheng that Yifeng was as deep as the world as a mortal, Lu Qingshan said that he didn't dare say more. Lanzu pointed out to Lu Desheng that Yifeng did not like to be disturbed, saying that Yifeng had stepped into the mortal world only to feel the lives of ordinary people. The things that Lu Qingshan and Lanzu said made Lu Desheng even more curious. Since he wanted to see Yifeng, Lu Desheng told Lu Qingshan that he had to take him to see Yifeng even if he didn't want to. While Lu Qingshan was explaining that he really couldn't bring himself to disturb Yifeng, Lu Desheng suddenly attacked. Saying that he was bound to get the flame orb, Lu Desheng asked Lu Qingshan if he would agree or not. He assured Lu Qingshan that he only wanted the flame orb from Yifeng, claiming that he didn't mean anything else. Lan Zhu dared to tell Lu Qingshan that he should not do what Lu Desheng was asking, so Lu Desheng choked her even harder, causing her to cough up blood. Lu Qingshan had a cold sweat. He was having a hard time deciding what to do, making the life of his disciple a priority. Lu Qingshan agreed to Lu Desheng's request. Lu Desheng told Lu Qingshan that he should have just accepted sooner rather than later. Lu Desheng apologized to Yifeng. He hoped that Yifeng wouldn't blame him for bringing people and disturbing his peaceful life. Simultaneously, in Yifeng's martial arts gym, Wang Kai sat near the utility room, trembling. He still couldn't handle the deep and terrifying aura emanating from inside the utility room. Thinking that the reason for Wang Kai's unusual movements was that he was too horny, Yifeng decided to cut off the root of Wang Kai's problem. Knowing that controlling Wang Kai would be hard, Yifeng swallowed a mouthful of his saliva. Wang Kai suddenly ran away. Since he followed Yifeng, he had broken through again and again and reached the realm of Martial King. But despite becoming a Martial King, the breath coming out of the utility room's door still worried him. Wang Kai stared at the utility room. He was expecting the thing that scared him to come out soon. He wondered if the thing inside was a wild beast or some peerless demonic creature. The utility room's lock suddenly snapped. The door slowly opened, letting more of the deep and terrifying aura escape. Yifeng cursed, seemingly angry about something, while Wang Kai was so scared that he started crying. A skeletal leg was the first thing that Wang Kai saw, and when the door was fully opened, a small humanoid skeleton was revealed. Wang Kai's soul slowly left his body as he wondered what the skeleton was. He immediately hid behind Yifeng's leg, while Yifeng just stood still and stared at the skeleton. Although Wang Kai couldn't see through the skeleton's cultivation or even feel its breath, he could tell that the sense of crisis of not being able to escape from its palm was extremely real. Wang Kai knew that the skeleton was a dead thing, so he couldn't understand how it could move, and why it had such powerful pressure. The skeleton pointed at Yifeng, seemingly trying to say something to him, calling it a retarded thing. Yifeng threw a fist at the skeleton and scolded it for scaring the hell out of him. Yifeng cursed at the broken system for not being able to teach him how to make money or cultivate and for giving him a broken thing as a reward. Yifeng complained that the skeleton did nothing all day but float around like a ghost, and scared the shit out of him with its laugh and scream. Yifeng told the skeleton that there was no use saying that to him, but he said that the skeleton seemed to have a half-assed brain since it was locked but learned how to unlock it. Wang Kai couldn't believe that the skeleton he was so scared of was being treated like a toy by Yifeng. When Yifeng got tired of beating it, the skeleton spoke incomprehensible words, calling it a bastard and telling it to say something understandable. Yifeng punched the skeleton's head, separating its skull from its body. When the skeleton tried to reattach its skull, Yifeng informed it that he was putting it backward. The skeleton quickly turned its skull around and reattached it the correct way. The skeleton exclaimed when a cloth suddenly covered him. Yifeng expressed that that day was really awful. He ordered the skeleton to put the cloth on himself, telling it not to go around scaring people everywhere. The skeleton released some noise, seemingly agreeing to Yifeng's order. Since it was rare to have such good weather, Yifeng told Wang Kai and the skeleton to stay in the yard, saying that he would go to the door to get some sun. He really didn't know what to do with the skeleton. He thought of putting it in the yard as a decoration, but he quickly shrugged the idea off, remembering that the skeleton moved. Moments later, Yifeng thought of cooking some walnut dishes to match the good weather. Seeing that even the skeleton could not resist Yifeng's fist, Wang Kai couldn't understand why he was loved by Yifeng. Thinking about walnuts made Yifeng remember the skeleton, so he decided to not cook a meal. The skeleton felt sad, feeling that Yifeng had abandoned him yet again. At the same time, on a roof near Yifeng's martial arts gym, Lai Mozai stood. The heavenly yin grand formation, the 8 directions, and the 16 chakra gates had all been set up. Lai Mozai looked excited, saying that just half a moment away, it was the right time, the right place, and the right people. Lai Mozai stared at Yifeng. He said that Yifeng could sleep as much as he wanted since he would be sleeping all the time after experiencing the spell. The weather suddenly changed. Certain that the perfect time had come, Lai Mozai immediately activated the spell. Since it started thundering and raining, the mortals quickly collected their clothes and went home. Lai Mozai recited a spell. Heaven and earth were searched, symbolizing male. Holy light surged, and all evil perished. Yin changed to yang. The sun rose, the moon fell, and the stars flowed upstream. Multiple pillars of light surrounded Yifeng's martial arts gym. While he was sealing Yifeng's cultivation, Lai Mozai said that even though it was the peak-level martial ancestor's full power strike, without cultivation, even if Yifeng was a martial supreme under that sword, he would only be as good as dead. When the sword was about to finish forming, Lai Mozai let it fall, aiming to kill the sleeping Yifeng with it. The sword fell threateningly towards Yifeng. Lai Mozai got excited, thinking that after it, all the treasures under Yifeng would be his. Yifeng, who was sleeping so soundly, didn't notice the sword getting closer and closer to him. Lai Mozai experienced firsthand how terrifying the heavenly yin formation is. Seeing that Yifeng didn't respond, Lai Mozai became certain that his cultivation base had already been sealed off. Lai Mozai celebrated, believing that it was already too late for Yifeng to dodge. But to his surprise, Yifeng's skin just rippled upon contact with the sword. The sword didn't even manage to wake up Yifeng. Lai Mozai had a hard time processing what he just saw. He couldn't understand how the sword that he was so proud of had disappeared just like that. To him, it looked like Yifeng had simply swallowed the sword. He believed that it should have been impossible for Yifeng to block his attack since he was certain that Yifeng's cultivation had already been sealed off. Lai Mozai thought that even if there was a mistake in the heavenly yin formation, there should have been some movement to resist the attack. But the sword just turned into nothingness when it touched Yifeng. Lai Mozai was greatly bothered by how strange the event was. Suddenly, he thought of something. Lai Mozai realized that if Yifeng was not a martial supreme, he should be at least a martial saint. So even if his cultivation was gone, his refined defense should still be there. Lai Mozai expressed that he liked that kind of challenge, saying that killing a strong man felt much better than strangling an ant. He released his death goo from his mouth. Lai Mozai was confident that, in front of his death goo, it shouldn't matter how monstrous Yifeng's defense was. He said that once Yifeng let the death goo enter his body, even if his cultivation base was restored, he could only wait for his death. A loud bang was heard when Yifeng suddenly woke up and clapped his hands to kill the death goo. Yifeng wondered where those flies who had dared to disturb his sleep had come from. While he was staring at his dead death goo, Lai Mozai turned pale. He remembered Wu Yonghong's warning, telling him that if he insisted on going against the law and set up that formation to deal with Yifeng, he would be punished by heaven with eternal death and would not be able to reincarnate again. As if what Wu Yonghong had said had come true, Lai Mozai suddenly coughed up blood. His instinct was screaming, telling him that he had to run. Lai Mozai landed on a floating island and rested for a bit. He couldn't believe what had just happened. He was certain that the heavenly yin formation was still in effect and that Yifeng's cultivation base was sealed off. Lai Mozai couldn't understand how his plan ended up like that. Even without cultivation, Yifeng still managed to slap to death Lai Mozai's death goo, whose body was famous for its hard defense. Lai Mozai's death goo was an existence that would not be broken, whether it was burned or even if a martial supreme slapped it with all his strength. Lai Mozai thought that the only explanation was that Yifeng's fate had become so powerful that it could not be shaken and could not be taken away from him no matter how much one tried. Since he had already failed, Lai Mozai wanted to escape first. But a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Someone who was wearing a cloak floated in front of Lai Mozai. Not daring to carelessly run away, Lai Mozai asked the unknown individual to reveal his identity. The cloaked individual grinned and asked Lai Mozai if he wanted to leave. He couldn't see the individual's face clearly, so when he felt an invisible sense of oppression, Lai Mozai thought that Yifeng had come to chase him down. He realized that the best thing he could do in that situation was to leave that place as soon as possible. Lai Mozai ran away as fast as he could, so he couldn't help but be surprised when the cloaked individual suddenly appeared in front of him. He once again asked the cloaked individual to reveal his identity, but the cloaked individual just remained silent. Lai Mozai thought to himself that if it was Yifeng that he was facing, there shouldn't be any need for him to play some tricks. He decided to attack, claiming that he was the strongest martial arts master of his generation. Lai Mozai told the cloaked individual that since he dared to come after him for trouble, he should suffer the consequences. An explosion occurred on the floating island where Lai Mozai and the cloaked individual were, drawing Lu Desheng's attention. From the aura alone, Lu Desheng was able to tell that there were martial arts masters fighting in that direction. Having decided to check things out, Lu Desheng quickly flew away, leaving Lu Qingshan behind. Seeing how fast Lu Desheng went, Lu Qingshan couldn't help but think that Lu Desheng was desperate to join in the fun. Meanwhile, on the floating island, thinking that he had ended the cloaked individual's life, Lai Mozai laughed frantically. He then started bragging about how powerful he was. When the dust was starting to settle, Lai Mozai's eyes narrowed as the figure of the cloaked individual was slowly revealed. Lai Mozai couldn't believe that the cloaked individual, who took his attack head-on, was just standing still, unscathed. Since his strongest attack didn't work, Lai Mozai decided to run, realizing that the cloaked individual was not someone he could win against. But before he could run far, Lai Mozai panicked when a black hand formed above him and slapped him mercilessly. Lai Mozai screamed in pain and asked the cloaked individual why he was treating him like that. He told the cloaked individual that he had no past grievances and recent grudges against him. The cloaked individual asked Lai Mozai if he really thought that they had no past grievances and recent grudges. Lai Mozai asked the cloaked individual what he meant. He was starting to believe that the person in front of him was really Yifeng. The cloaked individual told Lai Mozai that he was not the master. While he was showing off his overflowing aura, the cloaked individual said that he was just a servant. Lai Mozai stared at the cloaked individual, his eyes wide and mouth agape. He couldn't believe that such a powerful martial master was just Yifeng's servant. Lai Mozai was so shocked that he couldn't help but say that Yifeng could really be an immortal. In response to what Lai Mozai said, the cloaked individual said that his master was not an immortal. Lai Mozai quickly agreed, saying that the existence of immortals could never be in such a small place, and that there must be some kind of error in the heavenly yin grand formation. While he was revealing his appearance, the cloaked individual informed Lai Mozai that his master was a god. Lai Mozai thought to himself that it should be impossible for Yifeng to be a god. A god was an existence that could control the laws of heaven and earth. It was an existence that was countless times more advanced than immortality. Even an immortal warlord, in the presence of God, was nothing more than a crawling ant. Lai Mozai didn't believe that such an existence, so advanced that it transcends the realm, would stoop to their place. The skeleton told Lai Mozai that it was not impossible for Yifeng to be a god since he, who was just Yifeng's servant, was also a god. Lai Mozai accused the skeleton of babbling nonsense, asking him if he thought that God was like a cabbage that could be found anywhere. Lai Mozai believed that the skeleton was just bluffing. He even thought that the skeleton's white bone appearance was just a kind of blindfold. As soon as the skeleton grinned, a bolt of lightning struck Lai Mozai. Lai Mozai couldn't understand why he got hit by heavenly thunder, and before he could think of an answer, his whole body suddenly started freezing. It actually started snowing in their area, leaving Lai Mozai frozen in place. The ground below Lai Mozai suddenly erupted, showering Lai Mozai with lava. Then a tornado formed out of nowhere. Lai Mozai could only scream as he was helplessly swirled around by the tornado. When the tornado dissipated, Lai Mozai got smashed to the ground. He asked the skeleton if what he just experienced was the legendary law of nature. The skeleton didn't answer. He just told Lai Mozai that if he still didn't believe him, there's still more that he would show him. The skeleton used a regression spell on Lai Mozai. While he was regressing, Lai Mozai remembered the time when the woman he loved apologized to him and told him that she had feelings for her elder martial sister. The time when he was proclaiming to everyone that his goal was to amass a fortune that no one could possibly calculate. And the time when evil individuals planned on raising him as a weapon because he had ample spiritual roots. The skeleton then fast-forwarded Lai Mozai's time. Lai Mozai's smooth and soft hand quickly turned thin, delicate, and wrinkled. Knowing that the skeleton could use the law of time, Lai Mozai started to believe that the skeleton really was a god. Since he was bored by Lai Mozai's reaction, the skeleton decided to just finish Lai Mozai's life. As his body started to crumble, Lai Mozai wondered how he could be so blind as to try and plunder a god's fortune. To express how regretful he was, Lai Mozai apologized before he completely lost all of his life. Lu Desheng witnessed how the skeleton effortlessly killed Lai Mozai. He couldn't understand what he had just seen. Seeing how the skeleton easily dealt with a martial arts master in the realm of martial ancestor, Lu Desheng got so scared that he wanted to run. But before he could start running, the skeleton suddenly appeared behind him, asking him to confirm if what he saw was hilarious. Lu Desheng quickly explained to the skeleton that he was just passing by. He then informed the skeleton that he was the #1 pill refiner in Nancha and that he could make imperial-grade pills. Lu Desheng asked the skeleton to spare his life in exchange for his service. The skeleton asked Lu Desheng if he thought that he would need an imperial-grade pill. Realizing how stupid his offer was, Lu Desheng quickly apologized. The skeleton ordered Lu Desheng to slap himself 100 times, threatening him that if he didn't, he would die worse than Lai Mozai. Without thinking twice, Lu Desheng promised that he would slap himself. Lu Desheng couldn't help but wonder what kind of person he had just provoked. He ran to see the excitement, but he ran into trouble instead. Moments later, Lu Qingshan arrived. He exclaimed when he saw Lu Desheng slapping himself. He asked Lu Desheng what sins he had committed for him to abuse himself like that. Lu Desheng didn't explain, he just told Lu Qingshan to get lost. Lu Qingshan speculated that something might have happened to the family, but he decided to just forget about it, saying that neither of them dared to say nor ask.